Well, I'm Clifford Barrow.
Okay.
I was born in October of 1961 in Tucson, Arizona. I'm the firstborn son of Mark and Sandy Barrow. Um, that My father was going to the University of Arizona at the time. He graduated with a degree in entomology. I have a younger brother, Chris Barrow, who is 17 months to the day, exactly younger than me. And then my sister is 3 years younger than me, Catherine Barrow. We were all born in Tucson. And my dad graduated with a degree in entomology,
What is that?
insects.
Insects.
Yes.
So do you like insects? Did he pass any of that on to you?
He used to catch bugs in his hand, and he would say, "Hold out your hand," and he would
Yeah.
drop this bug in your hand, and he would then give you the scientific name and what it did. And that's like, that's great, Dad.
That's
And he went to work for a company called Monsanto. This is 1964, 65. It must have been 64 that he graduated, and sold agrochemicals for them. Insecticides were a big coming of age thing in the early 60s.
yeah.
And he did real well in the Arizona territory, and they offered him a position in the corporate office in St. Louis. So we moved there, and then he did well there, and they offered him I think it was a vice president of sales, not the vice president, but one of the vice presidents of sales, or general manager of the agrochemical division of Monsanto in Latin America. So they chose Latin America, and off we went in 1968.
So how old are you?
So 68, I was almost 7 years old.
You kind of
Yeah, I kind of, yeah, vaguely, not so much of Arizona. I remember some of St. Louis, and we were there for a couple of years, but I do remember going to Colombia, and we lived in Bogota. So I went to first grade through eighth grade there.
How was that experience?
That was nice. It was different. We missed, our home country.
Did you guys come back to the U.S.?
We did. We would come back for vacations in the summertime. Typically southern Arizona, where my grandparents lived, is where we would go. Americans not real well liked out.
Yeah, when I think of Colombia, I think of drugs.
Yeah, everybody does.
Still a big thing.
Yeah.
Was that a big thing at that point?
Mostly it was marijuana at the time. It started getting bad, and we left there in 1976.
Like, because when was the whole Pablo Escobar era?
After that,
Okay.
yeah, it probably started, somewhat. Cocaine started,
Not that you would know everything about.
I was only in the eighth grade when we left. So, no. Yeah, if I had a teacher, second grade teacher named Senora Escobar, I always wondered if there was a connection, but she was one of, like, she was a mean teacher.
Yeah, I'm sure Escobar is probably a common,
It is a common name there. Yeah.
like Smith or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. But
So first through eighth grade, was it an international school?
it was an American school.
What, ambassador kids stuff there, or
Foreign delegate, or, foreign nationals, military kids, kids from all over the world, sent their kids there. Foreign diplomats, the type. About 70% of the school was Colombians, well-to-do Colombians, and
yeah.
it was all in English except for an hour required Spanish a day.
So did you learn Spanish?
Yes.
I'm sure you would. So you're still pretty fluent today?
I'm fairly fluent, yeah, because they taught us to read and write, and to write papers, and spelling tests. Very different from the Spanish classes you take here in the United States. So,
Yeah, I mean, when you're living immersive in the culture.
right. Colombian history, things like that were taught in the Spanish class.
So
Culture.
being in Colombia, I guess, could you hear about the American stories? Like, in the summer we would go hang out with my friends, go to I don't think you would have had that life as like kids your age in America would have. So what did you do on the weekends or in the evenings or?
Well, um, I think the thing that we did mainly is there was a Boy Scout troop there. Uh, it was Bogota 1. As Boy Scouts of America
The only
endorsed the only troop, Boy Scouts of America troop in the country,
nice.
and almost all the American kids and quite a few of the Colombian kids joined the troop. There
They
was
became Americans to Boy Scouts.
pretty much, yeah, yeah.
So how far did you make it up at the Boy Scout one? You get your Eagle Star?
I made it to Life Scout.
Isn't that like
It's one step below. All I lacked was this service project.
why didn't you do it?
Well, we had moved back to the States at that time, and I kind of just lost interest in it.
Yeah, because you can't really start till sixth grade, right? So it's more points.
Right, 11 years old is when they used to let us start. So,
Did you do it for 3 years or something?
yeah, up until I was 15 when we moved back, and I actually stayed active in the troop, but I just didn't get the Eagle Scout. Neither did my brother. Service project was the only thing we lacked to get the.
Did you know a majority of the presidents were Boy Scouts?
Yes.
A lot of them, I'm sure you know a lot of them. I don't know how many of them went Eagle, but I was surprised to learn how many of them were Boy Scouts. I know the recent ones have worked out. I don't think Trump was in Boy Scouts.
Probably. I don't think. Maybe not.
Obama was.
Yeah.
I definitely, maybe Biden was, but yeah, I thought that was interesting that a lot of the older presidents were Boy Scouts and had military experience. So that's interesting. So, lived in Colombia. Was there any particular hobbies that you picked up when you were there, or in your middle school years, or?
Oh, not really.
Did you experience bullying?
Yeah, quite often. Yeah.
Do you remember how that made you feel, or you kind of like whatever?
Have you heard the song "A Boy Named Sue" by Johnny Cash?
I'm not. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. You get tough or you get mean. You know.
So you got tough.
Yeah.
And mean.
Yeah.
So you learned to fight back.
I did. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It was necessary. Either that or get beaten up. Right. So
the gangs and stuff there, or just more because you were the.
There wasn't so much gangs, but everywhere you went, I had blondish hair then, and I hung out with American kids, and you were a target.
So were your parents aware of that environment that you were in, or they just?
Yeah, they were.
So they were like, just toughing it out.
Yeah,
funny.
Most times you didn't tell because most times I won. But I remember I lost one or two.
Like, what's that from your eye? You're like, oh, I fell down this.
Yeah.
Crazy. That's interesting.
So, yeah, I guess one of the things we did, my brother and I did, there was these little, so it was all three schools, elementary, junior high, and high school were on the same, different levels on the top of the mountain, different buildings, but it was all the same school.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a high school store that we would, as junior high, we would sneak up there, and they had these little packets of sugar, flavored sugar thing for like 1 peso, right? And they're little plastic things, and they would sell them, and we'd rip off the corner and you just have a sugar snack. And the principal forbade anybody from going up to the high school store anymore. So my brother and I made our own, and we got a plastic bag sealer, and we started selling these, I don't know, forget what they were called, but they were the same size, and we sold them for a peso, and we were making good money.
So that's like where you're both your entrepreneur.
Yeah, I guess you would say that. It did start. Yeah, we were.
So did you probably a limited friends? So you and your brother, you form a good relationship, strong bond. Was it typical beat each other up?
Yeah, we fought and wrestled a lot. But yeah, our fighting was wrestling, right? Up until we moved here, and he became the Washington State wrestling champion for his weight class. That was the end of the wrestling. We had to go to fisticuffs after that. But that was more trouble. My brother had a very what do you call it? He was very sharp-tongued, right? And very well-verbed, a lot quicker with the language than I was. And he could cut to the bone, and he knew where to cut, because, we're brothers, right?
Yeah.
He knew how to piss me off.
Yeah.
So
he was a wordsmith, and he was also physically good,
and he was also very intelligent.
Yeah,
right? He reads people.
People who are intelligent maybe aren't as physical. The guys that are more intelligent.
Yeah.
But when you got both, then you can pick the fight, win the fight.
Right.
And that's a rare skill.
Yeah.
And then, so your sister was there as well, but I don't know, she was probably younger, so she's
3 years younger, so
have to deal. I guess she probably dealt with some of the life there, being a girl.
Yeah, I don't know that. Well, see, I was in 8th grade, so that would have put her in 5th grade. So,
do you think,
to school.
Do you look back at that time and look at it fondly, or do you feel bad that you missed out on some of the American life growing up? Kind of different.
We thought we were missing out on the American life, but really it was a transformative experience.
Yeah.
For us. I think growing up in a country that isn't yours is very educational. Teaches you how to deal with people that aren't your culture, aren't your nationality.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, and I learned the language as well.
Yeah.
And I think that has been beneficial. I didn't like it at the time always, but it's been beneficial throughout my life.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Do you think your sister looks back at that time fondly?
I think she does. She was younger, and there's things that she doesn't remember as well as I do. But my brother was only a year behind me in school. So when I was in 8th grade, he was in 7th grade. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
All right. So let's go to high school. In America.
High school. We moved up here to Woodinville, Washington.
Your dad still with?
He had gone to work for another company called Velsicol, which was an Italian agrochemical company, and did the same thing for them. And then he had several businesses that he opened with partners down there. One of them was a speed shop.
In Woodinville?
No, in Colombia.
Part of the drug cartel?
No. He opened up a Honda motorcycle dealership and a speed store. It was called the Speed Store, Monza Speed Store. They supplied hot rod stuff. There was in Colombia, they had a Simca and a Renault factory that were built in. I guess the French is Renault is French,
mm-hmm.
and they were making cars in Colombia. So to protect that industry, the Colombian government put a 300% interest or tax on any other vehicles imported.
Yeah.
So the local Colombians would buy the basic Simca or the Renault, mm-hmm. but they would like if they wanted mag wheels or a loud muffler or they started selling us, and they just went like hotcakes. But it was very successful.
You can soup up their cars.
Yeah, more chrome stuff, and yeah.
What's funny about that? It's interesting that they tax 300% because it's like ultimately the parts are coming from another country.
Yeah,
build the machine. It's someone either you're building it or someone else is building it. But regardless,
right?
I don't think the natural resources actually came from Colombia.
Probably not. I mean, I'm sure the stuff that they got was manufactured, but So.
But yeah, I mean, your dad's smart. He saw a niche that he could.
Yeah.
Use. So did he have local business partners then?
He did. One of his partners was Alvaro Pena. He was also worked in Monsanto with him, and then both those guys left for Velsicol. I don't remember what. Maybe Alvaro was the Colombian manager. My dad was the.
So when he left Colombia, did he keep those businesses?
He sold the speed shop and the dealership to Alvaro, and they had a couple of farms. One of them was a strawberry farm out.
So he must have had time to do all this other stuff while working.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So he seemed to make the most of it then while he was down there.
He did, and he figured that he could make a go of that, and we moved moved back up here to...
Did your parents have to learn Spanish then as well?
They actually did. They sent them to a school in Phoenix called the Thunderbird Language School, and there was a 6-week training course, and off we went.
So did your mom want to go there, or was she more hesitant?
She was more hesitant. She was active in the church. My dad wasn't at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And she said that if they could find, if the church was down there, then she would go.
Mm-hmm.
And turns out the first missionaries had been in there in 1967, the year before. Mm-hmm. So there was some branches and some, small congregations.
Okay.
And yeah.
All right. So we backtracked a little bit, and now you're in Woodinville.
Yeah.
Dad's working for another company.
Dad quit Velsicol, and he decided to just go into business for himself, to do trade, be the middleman, buy whatever, rice from one country, sell it to another.
When your dad did that,
yeah,
did he ever involve you with his business? Was he ever trying to mentor and coach you guys into this, or are you just kind of looking out from the outside?
Looking at it from the outside, but he would try to explain things back then. This is kind of before, 1976. I don't know that container shipping was all that popular, just probably started to gain a foothold.
Mm-hmm.
I remember he had, he tried to teach me the terms of, free on board, or, the shipping terms that.
I remember I took a class in college where we had to learn a little bunch of terms.
Yeah, that's the only time it actually paid off, was when I went to college. And
I don't remember any of
yeah.
Freight on.
Me neither. Yeah, freight on, and when the shipper would pay the shipping,
Yeah.
But,
I vaguely remember that.
Of
course.
Yeah. So, I think his big thing was he bought rosewood logs from Costa Rica and sold them to a company in Japan.
I mean, this is, I don't even think the internet's around back then. So
no, there was no internet.
Hand in paper and phone calls and wheeling and dealing.
The telex machine. We had a telex machine. And
like a fax?
It actually kind of, except it had tape that had holes in it, and it would run, and then it would print off the message. Yeah, we had one of those in our basement. So, and fax machines came out, after that. And internet, the DARPA started in 1969. That was the DARPA net.
Yeah.
And it was only between 3 universities. I forget, Berkeley, MIT, and yeah.
That's interesting. So in high school, did you play sports?
I did. I played football, and I ran track.
Did you have a desire to do that in college, or
I did. I was very passionate about high school football. I did I started weight training, all geared towards, playing football.
Mm-hmm. What position?
I played fullback, and I played middle linebacker.
Mm.
But I like to say I probably played guard and end. I sat at the end of the bench, and I guarded the water bucket.
Because it was pretty competitive.
It was really competitive.
It's the guy in shape.
It did, yeah, and it was quite intense. I did, I went to football camps in the summertime that I paid for, with my own money. And
how did you have money for ATM jobs?
When we came up to Woodinville, my mother, a friend of ours had a blueberry farm. That was not very profitable, picking blueberries. One of my dad's farms in Colombia.
Were you eating them all, or did it pay?
No, because it was mostly high school kids, and we were just goofing off most of the time. Right, and they paid us by the flat. My dad had a strawberry farm in Colombia, and my brother and I worked at that from maybe 10, 11 years old on, summers and weekends.
So you're a farmer.
Yeah.
Would you consider yourself a green thumb? You have a green thumb?
I understand plants.
Okay.
Yeah, I did a science project when I was in junior high on plant growth and what made them grow. And I think I got red ribbon or something like that. I don't remember what it was. But anyway, my mom put up a small 3x5 card in a North Shore Service Center on the bulletin board, the community bulletin board, and it's had our number. It said Chris and Cliff Barrel, odd jobs So we would get jobs mowing lawns. We got a job unloading hay truck a couple times because Woodinville is a big equestrian thing. So all sorts of things.
So odd jobs
kept us busy. And I think when I was maybe a junior in high school, I went to work for a company called Native Landscaping and Design. That was my first real job as a landscaper, just a shovel pusher. So
you're used to working with your hands and manual labor and all that good stuff. So senior year of high school, probably went through that.
Yep.
What were your thoughts, young Cliff, 18, 19, as far as, did you know what you want to do with your life? Or you kind of like, should I go to college? Or
I did. I thought I wanted to own my own business. That was kind of modeling my dad. I wanted to run my own business. I should have been more specific. But that was.
Did Dad offer to work for you?
Not really. And honestly, at the point where we'd been there for 3 or 4 years, he wasn't that successful in his business endeavor. Mom had to go to work. She went back to finish her nursing degree and got into nursing again.
Do you think that weighed negatively on him? He thought that?
I think it did. He was always positive about it, that it was going to work, and he did put together some deals, enough to keep us, surviving and on top of the money that he had made in Colombia. But pretty much about senior year in high school, Mom was the major breadwinner that kept everything together. So, but not to say that he didn't have a few deals here and there.
So did he? I mean, we can close the loop on your dad's businesses, but did he eventually have to close those businesses down, or he find something else?
He never did until after my mom was killed in a car accident. He even kept on after that, but he never put anything together. He had tentative deals.
It's always I almost have a deal. It's like that guy
almost got a deal. Yeah, they're gonna pay me.
Yeah, the agent's chasing the deal.
This is gonna come together. Yeah, and it's worth this much money. Yeah,
it's a lot of hustle, maybe not a lot of payoff.
Exactly.
So that was something I just learned. So your mom passed away in a car accident?
Yeah, 2005, December 29th. They had returned from their mission. They were missionaries down in Peru. They'd been home about 1.5 years, I guess, maybe a little longer. They're on their way down to. They lived in Meridian, Idaho, and she wanted to go see the lights at Temple Square, the Christmas lights. So they were on their way down there, and they had a rollover accident.
So this is in December
29th of 2005. And Dad was driving, and they at I-84 just outside of Wendell, Idaho, they flipped the car over, the truck it was, and she was killed. And he was fairly badly injured, had to be air flighted. Hit his head bad enough that he was knocked unconscious.
Did they hit ice or something?
They hit black ice, yeah. And they rolled over in the middle of the,
So you were already out of the house.
Oh yeah, I was in. I'm 40 something at that point. Yeah.
Yeah, that's sad. I mean, anytime you have death, that's always sad.
Yeah.
But unexpected death has a different type of shock to it.
It does. Yeah. And I've experienced both.
Yeah.
And of course I'm 62 now, right? So I've experienced some people dying on me, and
So okay, I feel like we're talking a lot about your dad.
No, we're kind of jumping around.
Let me close the loop on your dad. Okay. How was your dad after your mom passed away? Did he change him a lot, you think?
I guess we never realized how much she was sustaining him.
Yeah.
Right? She was keeping him together.
Yeah.
Because he kind of fell apart.
Yeah.
Yeah. My brother and my sister and I would, did we talk to Dad today?
Yeah.
No.
Because how old?
What did he do now?
How old is he?
Okay, he's only 20 years older than me, so he would have been about
your age, right?
Yeah, right, my age right now. He would have been 61 or so.
They still had some good years ahead of him, but
he did.
He kind of fell apart after that.
He did. He got remarried about 2 years later. One of his when he was mission president in Peru, he had the mission president has a couple assistants. They call him one of his assistants. His mother got divorced, and that's who he set him up with her, and they got together and they got married like 2 years or so after Mom died. So, and then he
is he still alive?
No, he passed away last July.
Oh, so I think I remember you telling me that.
Yeah.
How old was he when he passed away?
81.
And was it just COVID related or just
no
natural?
He about a year after he married his second wife, he fell down in Las Vegas when they went down to see some friends, tripped over something and hit his head. And then they drove from there to Meridian, Idaho, and he was okay for a couple of days. Then he fell in the kitchen and hit his head hard, and was in a coma for like 5 months. And from that point on, he never walked again.
Okay.
So
for 14
years, she was his caretaker.
Wow.
Yeah, she got a bum deal that she was that, but she took care of her.
Now you get with the used car.
Right.
It's good for your
Yeah.
Could turn out differently.
Yeah. So unfortunately, he had I think he did well in the beginning. In his younger years, he's just a dynamic man. He served in church positions.
Yeah.
And he did real well. I still have people in the church come up and say, "Are you Mark Barrow's son?" I'm like, "Yeah." And he had.
Is he a big man? Is he a big man in stature?
No, I think he was maybe 5'10" top height. He had big. When he was younger, he had these big arms. I mean, he was a farm boy that grew up, and he played football. And their team went to the state championship in Arizona when he was. I think he graduated in '59. But I heard about that long. But I found out later that was 8-man football that they played. There were 16 people in his graduating class. Well, yeah, you're a starter on the football team. There ain't nobody else, right? Come to school with there's 1,500 people. See how you do.
Yeah. All right. So
okay,
I like that tangent because I think people who are listening can realize like life could take you any which way, and sometimes you don't quite know how it's going to play out.
Yeah.
And but that's interesting. All right, so let's rewind back to Cliff, end of high school. Okay, so you wanted to start a business, but that was a pretty general idea.
It was a pretty general idea. I went to a year at BYU. I started out with a chemical engineering degree. I think the first semester was chemical engineering.
Because your dad was, I guess your dad...
Well, that had something to do with it, but I was looking for the highest paid professions to go into, and chemical engineering was, and I'd taken, I did not slack in high school. I took the chemistry classes, biology, I took all the,
Do you remember your GPA?
I think my sheet going into my senior year, I had like a 3.5.
Oh.
So, but after that I started, because I had all my graduation requirements done up to the first quarter. I think we were trimesters then. I had everything completed. So I kind of started slacking off, and I, went to work, got a girlfriend. I kind of, I guess that's part of the story too, because I turned 18 in October of my senior year.
Yeah.
And I had one, like I told you, football was passionate for me. And I had, on our third game in, I fumbled the ball like 3 times on kickoff, fumbled the kickoff. And coach did not take that well. The next game, the fourth game of the year,
not that game?
No, we lost the first 3 games and the fourth game, which I was told there was no room on the bus for me.
Oh,
I was crushed. And on top of that, I had a girlfriend that I met down at football camp down at Oregon State. And same week, we broke up.
So that was a rough
That was a rough week. And so I had some friends that were, he was on the cheer squad. And my biology lab partner was also on it. I said, I need a ride to the football game. And they drank alcohol and stuff. So they said, you know what we do? And I said, I'm in. I want to go. So, that was my first taste of alcohol. I just kind of, yeah.
So how long was that alcohol?
About 14 years.
14 years.
Yes.
So you started. So here,
okay.
I ask people all the time.
Okay.
Alcohol. I think generally the consensus I hear from people, the first time you drink it, it does not taste good.
No, it tasted like soap water. I'm like, how do?
And so I was talking to a bartender about it, and he's like, yeah, no one enjoys their first drink.
Yeah.
What people keep coming back to is because of the effects it gives.
Exactly.
And then I'm assuming over time, do you ever enjoy the taste acquired?
I don't think so. I've been told that people, actually enjoy. There's whiskeys that you enjoy. Maybe I just drank the cheap stuff.
Never got to, but
they're like, they like drink that's smooth. I'm like, are you kidding? It burns all the way down.
So you never actually ever got to the point where you enjoyed the taste?
No, never.
Just
not even wine. I mean, wine burns, right? It's like it's so nice. Oh, the bouquet. I'm like, you're lying. You're lying. You're drinking for the effect.
So maybe we can solve this today.
Okay.
Is why do so many people get peer pressured into it at such a young age, high school? We all know it's not good for you.
Yeah.
It has minimal health benefits, but somehow, after thousands of years, young people still do it. And it's like...
It's a social lubricant. Has been since it was invented, right? It makes you kind of drop your inhibitions. Before that, I was kind of shy, especially when it came to young ladies, right? But then I'm, partying with the guys on the cheer squad and who are their friends, the cheerleaders, right? So,
so it brings out a different version of yourself.
Brings out a different version of me. Yeah, I was funny. I was charming. I could make good conversation, right?
Yeah.
Because I was semi-intelligent, and I wasn't like the.
Did your brother ever was that thing for him? We don't have to talk too much about your brother, but
yeah, I don't know that he maybe tried it, but he
didn't go down.
He did not go down that path. No,
he saw you and he was like, "I'm."
Oh yeah, that was a very rocky path, and it did not go over well with my parents. Yeah, who were members of the church.
Yeah,
and my dad was a bishop at the time too. So
your college. Next.
BYU, I actually got kicked out after 1 year.
Partying.
We were on one corner of campus. The PE building was down here. Basketball courts right by the dorms. Only to do that, you had to have a PE uniform, which is down at the other corner so we borrowed some PE uniforms. And we also borrowed the basketball. So I got kicked out.
The one thing I'm learning from this, it's not just you, but you can expect youth to do dumb things.
Oh yeah,
it's like
not only youth. What is it?
No matter what year it is, 2,000, 4,000, 5,000 years ago.
Yeah.
You have to design systems in a way knowing that youth will try to figure out.
I don't think it's limited to youth.
Yeah.
I was listening to a talk by somebody, I forget who it was, but he had what he called the DFT file. The damn fool things he'd done, right?
Yeah.
I think we all probably need to file that, but you need to, we're all going to make stupid mistakes.
Yeah.
And it's only afterwards that you, that was stupid. Why did I do that? But yeah. So anyway.
All right. So you got kicked out.
Yeah.
Now what?
So I came back here and my friend who was the lab partner, his mother got me a job at a company called Belkirk Heating.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my first introduction to the trades. I started as an apprentice, and I got somebody had just been fired, and he only paid like a couple payments on his tools. So I got my box of sheet metal tools, and they put me with. First, I was just doing deliveries and picking up materials and getting them to the job. But then they put me with an older journeyman, and he started teaching me the trade.
So, a few questions I want to ask you over the top period of your life.
Mm-hmm.
In your early 20s, did you have visions and goals for this is what I want to be like when I'm in my 30s, 40s, 50s? Did you have someone that you looked up to? I know back then we didn't have social media like it is today, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So today you can easily research. I mean, today I was listening to an interview with Jeff Bezos.
Yeah.
That just came out today. But I'm curious back then, did you have someone or something that you looked up to? Did you have like big dreams and goals? Or is it kind of just life happened and then you kind of reacted to it?
I think it was more life happened and I reacted to it. I did see the guys that were like journeyman level that were making good money because I went.
What was the hourly rate back then?
Oh man, I can't even remember. I think I started at like $6 an hour. This is in the early 80s, right?
Yeah.
But $6 an hour was almost twice as much.
Yes, I mean, my first job, and this was 2006 or 7, was $6 an hour.
Yeah.
So that's pretty good back.
Yeah.
Maybe 30 years. So starting into the journey.
Yeah, I kind of looked up to those guys because they were making $15-20 an hour, which is 3 times what I was making, and they drove nice cars, they had hot girlfriends, and they owned houses, But again, I saw the guys that owned the company too, and that's. The journeymen are nice, and I learned from them. And but I knew the guys that owned the company. They were making the money. Yeah.
So eventually, that's where you wanted to get.
Yeah. Yeah, but how to get there? I didn't have any roadmap of that at all. I went, Belkirk. My friend's mom. Her name was Maureen. Everybody called her Mo. She was like an alpha female, but she was the bookkeeper of the company.
Boss baby.
Boss, yeah. She was the accountant of the company, but she ran the office and the accounting, and she knew that company was about ready to go down. So she helped me jump to another company called B&B Heating. They were out in Issaquah.
See, was that HVAC then? Or
that was also HVAC. But they had a... what they called the Alton crew, was a Alton Sun Company, and they had a heat pumps will take heat out of the air and heat the house with it, right? They boil the Freon over heat exchanger, but they had a heat pump that attached to solar panels and ground loops.
So that was a thing back then too.
That was a thing, yeah. So they would pull the heat out of the ground. The decades of the 80s.
Okay.
So the heat pump would pull heat out of the solar panels and the ground, and if there was water, we did a lot of waterfront properties. They had another system that pulled heat out of the lakes. It was a really, really cool system, but there were some problems with it because the technology was in its infancy.
Yeah.
So that's Alton Sun Company went bankrupt because some of the their promises didn't come.
Yeah, overpromise.
Right.
Overpromise and underdeliver.
Right. I think the big deal was there was a particularly cold winter, and a lot of the systems froze up. Well,
I mean, that's still a problem for heat pumps.
It's still a problem for heat pumps. Exactly.
One of my houses right now where if it gets too cold, it'll freeze up.
Yeah, you better have a backup heating system.
It's like, this is my primary heating system.
Yeah. So
they still are trying to solve that problem, I guess, in this area.
So when that folded up, I worked for a while for them just installing HVAC systems for them.
So how many years were you in the HVAC?
I don't know, 2 or 3 maybe.
Okay, so not that long.
Yeah.
So it's now your mid-20s?
Yep.
End at the HVAC, then what?
I think I can't remember exactly. So I'm like 24, 1985. I went to work for selling RCA service contracts. My friend, his name's Sam, his mom, he got me a job. He was a manager for RCA service company. We sold warranties and stuff for TVs.
Yeah, I was trying to think.
They had a service tech.
TVs were pretty big back then.
They were. Yeah, they'd 90 days, and after the 90 days, we'd call them up and we'd sell them an extended service contract and then
you guys, who invented that whole extended car? The car industry?
Probably somebody. It was heinous.
Sales is an interesting. We won't get too.
Yeah, but I did learn phone sales and that, and talking to people and getting quicker with my verbiage and stuff.
And getting okay with rejection and no's, because you're going to get a lot of no's.
Exactly.
The person who wins is the one that A, can get over the rejection faster.
Yep.
And then B, can learn how to adapt and just, try to get the yes.
Yeah.
Hopefully ethically.
Right.
We will.
So 1985, then I guess I was helping a friend move. Actually, we lived in...
Are you single at this time?
I'm single, yeah. Started getting involved with a lady who was older than me. I'd actually moved in with her.
So let me pause you for a second.
Okay.
You're in mid-20s.
Yeah.
Was exercising a thing like it is now for people? Was that a thing back then where the general population believed in it? Or did exercising and health and all that stuff kind of end at high school for you?
Well,
if you weren't playing a sport, you weren't really...
Yeah, if you weren't playing a sport, but there was, in the 70s, when I was still in high school, they started the running thing.
Nike came out.
The
dog
aerobics.
Yeah.
Where you got so many points for running. In fact, my dad started that in Colombia. I would run a mile and a third every morning before school.
Mm-hmm.
And that Bogota's up 10,000 feet elevation. So I got some pretty good wind when I ran track down. When I came to the States to run track, I remember I was running around the track and I wasn't breathing through my mouth.
Do you remember what event you did in track?
I did the relay. It was I think the 400-meter relay,
mm-hmm.
and then I ran the. Actually, at that time, when I first started, it was the 440 relay, and then it became, like the next year, it became the 400-meter relay.
So you're like, that extra zero.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm ready for that one.
Ninth grade.
Did you enjoy running?
I did. Yeah, and I was fairly good at it, but I wasn't as quick as, I think I ran the 800 in ninth grade.
Do you remember your time?
It wasn't bad, but it wasn't great.
It wasn't state level?
Yeah. And then when I went into high school, I started running the sprints because I just wanted to get quicker. I didn't really care about track. It was all geared towards football.
So you could warm up the bench.
Exactly. But I was still motivated, I still had that motivation, but I was up against some world-class sprinters in my Bothell High School, particularly Mike Mills. Man, he was fast.
Yeah,
I learned that the difference between a 12-second 100-meter and a 10-second 100-meter is about 20 yards or 20 meters, right? And so when they're done, you're still on the track, right?
Yeah, we won't get too much in my story, but I remember there's guys that I would meet, and I realize no matter how much I train, these guys are just at a different level.
Oh, yeah.
Once you meet guys like that, you're like, I could train 100 hours a week, and they would stop. Like, that was, because sometimes there's like, yeah, if you all trained 8 hours a week, then whatever. But I remember I met this one guy, and within 2 weeks, he trained for a marathon, and he qualified for Boston.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, that would take me years to even come close to the level that he was. So that's when I realized, like, some people are just naturally, no matter what you do,
Yeah.
or just at a better level. And so I met a few guys like that, or I was like, because I did a lot of training and all that stuff, but then you meet some of these guys and you're like, it's a whole different animal, like, because it's just they have their natural ability, and then you add training, and it's just like,
right,
takes off. Where you're like, your training doesn't even get them to your natural ability, natural ability.
Yeah.
And then you're like,
yeah, they don't have to train, and they
yeah. So that was eye-opening when I met guys like that. That was just like, no matter how much you trained, these guys would just blow you out of the water.
Yep.
But there was a joke about these guys that run marathons. So fast guys, they always finish in 2.5 hours or less.
Yes.
So they finish the race, and then the slow guys come 3, 4, 5 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So the slow guys go to the fast guys, and they're like, man, how do you do it so fast? Like, that's crazy. And then the fast guys say to the slow guys, how do you run for so long? So they're both amazed at each other, because the fast guys are like, we couldn't run for that long.
Right.
And the slow guys are like, we can't run that fast.
Right.
And so it's a funny joke, because they're both, I mean, to run for 5 hours, that's a long time.
That is.
But to run for 2.5 hours
at full pace, yeah,
they're just like, we can't run that long, or that far.
Yeah. Interesting.
All right, so mid-20s, HVAC. Didn't really have the big overall goal, purpose, vision, but you just kind of had opportunities given.
Yeah.
But you're still, do you think alcohol sidelined you from other stuff, or that was more just functioning?
Oh, without a doubt.
Which one? Functioning or sidelined you?
Just sidelined me. Yeah. Yeah.
And did you have people in your life that would try to be like, hey, or was that just a common, would you say like the society back then, was it just like, hey, that's just part of life? Or was it more like, hey, you're not going to get as far as you would?
I don't think anybody said that. I mean, they may have. I didn't listen.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in your 20s. I was bulletproof, right? When I was 24, was 1985. I did break my leg in between a truck and a van. I had an old pickup truck.
Were you drunk?
I was stoned. Yeah.
So you did other stuff too?
Oh yeah.
What is this other stuff? Everything and
just about everything, anything,
So let me ask you this.
Once you start experimenting,
let me ask you this. So people that are in your position and you were back then,
mm-hmm.
I think the best thing is prevention. Just don't get into it in the first place.
Oh yeah.
But once you're into it, and we'll talk about how you got out of it. How do you, if someone's in the middle of it, like if my child was doing that in his 20s, how would I get him out? Because you can talk to them logically, hey, what you're doing is not good for you.
Right.
But what else? Like, I don't think it's logic that's going to convince them otherwise.
No.
You remember what your mindset was back then? Like,
yeah. It's like, part of it was being in my 20s, and, I enjoyed the effect.
Yep.
And the high. And, it just kind of, not that it took over, but it just,
it became a big part of your life where.
Yeah, it affected my performance, right? It affected my attitude more than anything. I quit a lot of jobs. I got fired from a couple.
So you were that guy that no contractor wanted to hire because you weren't.
Not quite the opposite. They I always did a good job. I'd been trained with a good work ethic. My dad did teach us, all of us kids, that,
mm-hmm.
Good, strong work ethic. And I would always, like that landscaping job I was telling you about, that first one.
Mm-hmm.
We had a job at the gas company, and he had like 15 landscapers, mostly kids, but kids out of high school and stuff. And I was still in high school. And after we finished the gas company, he cut down to 2 guys from the 15. I was one of the guys.
So it sounds like you were a good worker.
Yeah.
So when you were on the job working, you could work hard.
Absolutely.
It was just when you weren't working hard, that's when poor decisions happened.
I would think, because of my attitude, I think, I deserve more money than, their offering me, I'm doing a better job than these other guys. I shouldn't be paid as, less than them. Right. So, I mean, and really, I had another heating company. I worked for about a month or so, and we were a team. Both of us are journeymen, and we were doing a house and a half a day, putting the whole heating system, setting the furnace, water tank, all the HV, all the ducting, and I think at the time they were paying me $8 an hour, and I said, look, I can't cut this, and I knew because the other crews were doing maybe 3/4 of a house a day. It took them 2 days to do a house.
Yeah.
And we were doing every 2 days, we'd do 3 houses. So I'm like, when the supervisor said, you hadn't put in your dues. Well, I've been working a month and a half. I'm like, but I need more money.
Yeah. So I'm going to go into the side tangent there.
Okay.
No, I want to. With water heater and HVACs, have they changed much the way they function or work over the years? Are they still pretty much?
They're still pretty much the same.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Gas or electric. Yeah. You see very little heat pumps. I don't set the heat pumps anymore. I could, right?
You know what they're doing now though, right?
What are they doing now?
From talking to some of the new properties that I manage, like new construction, taking out the gas because it's bad, putting in tankless or putting in heat pump water tanks.
Okay.
And so I'm talking to these plumbers and they're like, yes.
Wow. Okay.
So I'm talking to these plumbers, they're like, it's terrible. They're electric and heat pump. So they're hybrid. And he's like, when it gets too cold, they won't function as well. It's like,
yeah,
sounds like they've known this problem for a long time. Yeah, like when it gets cold, stuff that's running off heat pump just isn't as efficient.
Yeah.
So there's plenty of data that backs that up.
Yep.
But they still push for it so hard.
I would think that would be a basic thing because it's called delta T's, your temperature change.
Yeah.
That's how your heat pump works.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's going to be hard to get heat out of a 16-degree day.
Well, that's when you have science and ideology.
Right.
And right now, ideology seems to be winning.
Yeah.
It's like the homeowners are the ones that suffer.
That's unfortunate. Yeah.
So, but as for the most part, you're saying these furnaces really haven't changed that much as far as like.
No. The gas furnaces are probably the best.
They're getting rid of those.
Yeah.
So
good luck with that.
Yeah. So in Seattle, furnaces haven't been a thing in these new construction. But what I was curious to see is even out here in like Bothell, Marysville, these new homes, no furnace. It's all heat pumps, mini splits.
Okay.
And it's like,
so
they don't even run gas lines to these.
The heat pumps, do they run off of a ducting system? So there's is it forced air?
No.
Okay, that's a problem then.
But again, ideology says one thing.
Yeah.
Science says another, and they're just going to keep pushing it until I think enough people are going to have to push back and be like, actually, we liked having gas lines in our homes. That's going to be custom now. And people are going to push for that because it's like.
Yeah, and they want bucks to hook up the gas line.
Yeah. So I guess maybe people will go back. I mean, in some homes, if they're further out, they're on propane.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it'll be interesting to see where Washington goes with that. But let's go back to Cliff. So, and I think we'll get to the point where you eventually get out of it, and maybe we'll talk about it then.
Okay.
But if I'm in my mid-20s, I'm acting a fool. How is there anything you could say or do to get me in? Let's say I come to you, like, did you have self-aware to know you weren't happy? Or?
Yeah, I knew I wasn't happy, but attributing it all to substance abuse? No, no, because you're not willing. Your brain doesn't want to function like that. You're like, no, this is the stuff that makes me feel good.
Yeah.
Right. This is stuff, when I get home after a hard day of work, this is what I want to do.
So it's like, can you help someone if they're not self-aware of their problem? No. So you kind of just have to let them go through it.
Well, in the recovery community, they call that letting them hit hot rock bottom.
Yeah, but that can take years.
It could.
So do you think, is there a way to speed that up?
I think my dad thought there was. He called it tough love. Even in high school, I had to use his car to get back and forth to work, and he wouldn't put gas in it. So I'd end up running out of gas, various times and places. One time I ran out of gas downtown Seattle because, he'd used up the gas. But, I was using his car. He thought I should, pay for all the gas. Sure. But, every time I went to go use the car, the dang thing's on empty. I think he used to have a 4,000-gallon tank on the side of the house for gasoline when we first moved in, and a pump. I think he was siphoning the gas out and putting it in the tank, because there's no reason where we lived and where his office was
to have that big of a tank.
No, this was kind of a custom thing. He was kind of he wanted to have.
Can you even legally do that now?
No.
I didn't think so.
No,
can you collect rainwater? Isn't there some law?
Probably not. Yeah,
collecting rainwater.
Yeah, he bought an old used gasoline tank from a service station that they were getting rid of, and he paid somebody to put it in and hooked it up. And
so here's an ignorant question.
Okay.
Does gas go bad? Can you let it sit there for like 20 years?
I don't know.
Because I think about this. It's like, man, imagine if you would have bought gas like a long time ago.
Yeah.
When it was like $1.
Right, and just saved it.
Just saved it. You just had massive tanks. Like, I'll almost want to do that now, because it's like, well, someday it's gonna be $10, $12 a gallon.
Yeah, if this Mr. Magoo character gets back in office in next year, we'll be paying $15 a gallon. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we will get.
I don't want to go there, but yeah.
Oh, but yeah, I've thought that. It's like, I don't know. I don't know if gas is bad. I can't get it out.
Yeah, it probably breaks down at some point, but it's yeah, if it's just sitting there, it's got to separate. I would think I'd have to research that and look it out.
Yeah.
Look at that. No.
All right, so mid-20s Cliff, maybe not the citizen of the year.
Right. So yeah, he thought getting tough on me was he canceled medical insurance. I was on his medical insurance. He canceled that a week before I broke my leg, and I found that out the hard way. So.
But that didn't do anything. That didn't get.
It didn't. That was probably the start when I broke my leg, because I broke it bad. I broke the tibia, fibia, and crushed it, and I was in a external fixator, 2 titanium loops above and below the brake, and then pins through, and it was like 6 months. The doctor said
medical procedures back then aren't as good as they were today.
No, that was experimental, because when I broke it, they wanted to amputate it.
That would be difficult.
So my mother, came down to the hospital. She was back into her nursing back then. She told me that.
So was that common back then? If someone heard something that's just
as bad a break as I had, yeah, it would have been. But Dr. Winquist had studied in Germany, actually, and this was developed. The external fixators, it's still called. They developed those in Germany during the World War II. And they broke people's legs or people's bones purposely, and then developed this technology. Yeah, and that's where he learned it. Yeah, so I'm a result of that.
Thank you for breaking all those legs.
Yeah, well, they were prisoners.
Stand on the backs of cripples.
Yeah. In more ways than one, really. Stand on the backs of anybody that went before us.
Yeah. Well, I was making a joke on the saying, because we stand on the backs of other giants.
Yeah.
And
cripples.
We're standing on the backs. Yeah, I don't think they could do those type of experiments today. I mean, you could probably do maybe on animals, but not on humans. So you didn't get your leg cut off. That's good.
Nope.
They were able to fix you. So through that 6 months of recovery, do you remember your thoughts and feeling during that depression? Probably.
Yeah.
Feeling sorry for yourself.
Because that was my introduction to narcotics too.
Oh,
the
man.
pain pills, right? And I got hooked on those real good. Yeah. So that was the middle of my, my 14 years of heavy alcohol and drug abuse. But
so did you? I guess let's just go to the end. I know it gets resolved. When I say I'm not talking about the end of your life,
right?
But I'm talking about let's get to the point where you must have hit rock bottom.
Yeah, more than once.
Okay, so it took multiple rock bottoms.
Right.
And so, well, I guess what finally got you to just stop? Because now you're in your 30s.
Yes.
How old were you?
Finally, 1993 is when I finally got out of it.
You know how old you were?
I would have been almost 32.
So
pretty much 18 to 32.
Almost just a couple of years prior to my age. So that whole period is just finding random jobs.
Yep.
Not staying at them very long.
Right.
And then
But I got a lot of experience. Painting, HVAC, and roofing.
You got into a lot of different...
I did a lot of trades, right? Yeah. So bad as it was... Negative as I thought it was at the time.
Yeah,
it was very advantageous to what I do now, which is handyman repairs and remodels.
Yeah, I
learned all the skills.
So here's something interesting. Going back to what you were saying, is you knew at one point you wanted to be the guy at the top, but generally to get to the guy at the top, you have to stay long enough in one discipline.
Right.
And so for you, it was like you kept switching disciplines. And so it's hard to get to the top when you keep switching disciplines.
Yeah.
But let's go to the point where you're finally able to break. Did you get married during that time?
I did. I married the girl I was living with.
You convinced her you were to be something else?
I think I count that as one of my biggest mistakes. No, this is my second wife. Yeah. So, yeah, we were only married for 6 months.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But
probably not.
We'd actually lived together for, 3-4 years.
Was she into that lifestyle then as well?
It was not really. I mean, she drank, but and I think she smoked pot, but she didn't really like the other hard stuff. She had a bad hip, so she was given her own pain medication from the doctor, but it wasn't like we shared.
Yeah. 6-month marriage, that's not very long.
No.
Like day one, like it's not gonna work. How did that relationship end?
Well, I mean, when we lived together, we fought, and then we made up, and we fought and made up, and then we got married, and then we fought and made up, and she had a son who was born blind.
Oh,
from a previous.
You were a dad too.
I was a stepdad, for a while. Well, actually, about 4 years, really.
Because a little there.
Yeah.
You still have a relationship with him now, or yeah?
I don't. I saw her once after the divorce. She came to see me with Nathan was his name, and that's when I had an apartment in Bothell, and probably 91 or so. And then I talked to her on the phone once. After that, I called back there and I talked to her dad right before he died, and he gave me her number. She'd moved down to Vancouver, Washington, where there was a school for the blind, right when we were breaking up and getting divorced. And then she went back.
Who's the one that started the divorce?
I filed the papers to get the divorce, and she went to court to finish it up.
So it's a joint effort.
Kind of a mutual
teamwork.
Yeah, teamwork. Then she moved back to Wisconsin, where she was from. And her family was there, and I called and talked just because I wondered how she was doing. And he gave her she's like, "Oh, Pat lives in Everett." I'm like, "What?" So I called her up and I talked to her. We talked for about 20 minutes, and that's the last I've heard from her.
Hey.
So, and I haven't pursued any. Why? So.
All right, let's get to New Cliff.
Okay.
How did that happen?
All right, so 1993.
32, 33.
Yeah, 32, almost 32 years old, 31, 32. I guess when I was 21, almost 21, I had a job selling Kirby vacuum cleaners door to door. That was really good for a while. Making $1,000 a week as a 21-year-old.
Yes.
Selling vacuum cleaners.
What was your pitch? How did you?
We came inside people's houses and did demonstrations, and
just not leave until they bought.
Yeah, pretty much saying, I'm just going to camp here on your care.
There's like
a lady, just buy.
There's the pity one, like, oh, I got 5 kids, a wife. No, I need.
What we did is that we had these black cloths that we attached to the back of the vacuum, and then we'd have them take their vacuum out and have the lady of the house typically, and there's a vacuum right here, right, a heavy traffic area, and she'd vacuum, like, vacuum some more, and then we'd pull the Kirby over there and vacuum right where she just spent like 5 minutes vacuuming, right? You sure you got all the dirt? Oh yeah. And then you have this black cloth and you open it up and it's got all this dirt in it, and you just watch her eyes, and she's like,
so is that dirt planted already, you're saying?
No. Oh, no, it was never planted.
So it was legitimate.
Oh, it's legitimately, yeah, it's a good machine. My grandmother had a Kirby all her life up until she, my cousin moved her out of her house. She had a Kirby vacuum cleaner.
I forget, what's the expensive brand now? I have one. They're like $400 or $500. What is?
Oh, that's not expensive compared to a Kirby. And modern Kirby is about $2,500.
So why are they so ridiculously?
Because they got like
there's like a jet engine,
a big motor, and it's got a belt. And it's got the agitators, and it's just got a big, stronger motor on it.
Do you have some?
I had a couple, and when we moved up here from Seattle,
you're like, I was getting $80.
Yeah, that's about what we got now.
That's fine.
So, I don't even run it. We have a cleaning lady that comes and does it.
All right.
So, Cliff, at the end of the thing, I had a friend of mine. We had a dumbass idea about writing bad checks. We did it. It's called unlawful issuance of a bank check.
Cliff, before you find whatever you found, let's go through all
my criminal history.
Yes, let's get it on record. So we can go to so your vices.
Yeah,
your
vices in my criminal record, down to DFT, dumb fool things.
Let's go through the list, because now we want to know.
All right, so that was my major crime, was unlawful issuance of a bank check. Kind of a joint thing. Yeah.
So did you go find people's random checks?
No, we wrote to company. We went to the Alderwood Mall, and it was all in Snohomish County. We kept in one county.
They have a poster of your face still at these businesses.
Probably. Back then it was telecheck. There wasn't, they actually called in your account number to a phone number, and the telecheck said that, because telecheck was a check guaranteeing company.
Yeah.
So we only wrote checks to where this telecheck thing was. Kind of had
where it wasn't?
Where it was. Right.
Because
we had a kind of a beef with telecheck, because they're a pain in the butt. And
all right, so tell me how this operation.
All right, so we wrote a bunch of checks over Memorial Day weekend, and
these were your checks?
Yeah.
That's not very smart.
Well, we had a idea that we went to the library and found a birth certificate from around when we were born, and got another birth certificate, another ID. So we were just
before the internet.
Yeah, we were gonna dump our IDs and then assume this other identity.
Okay, so at least you didn't do it in your name.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So you're a little smarter than that.
Yeah, they said we were smart enough to be dangerous when they finally caught us, but.
Fuck. So let's walk.
All right. So it was big enough. It set a record in Snohomish County at the time, right? So I was given I think I did 60 days in jail initially, and I got 10-year prison sentence, suspended on the. I had to make restitution.
I let you go to my houses?
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right.
Dangerous. Were there any pens around this house?
Let my owner does.
Because
the guy I'm sending to your house. No, it's not. let's talk about like this check thing. This is interesting. So how did it work? Who was the check written out to?
The stores.
Who was the check? Like, whose name is on the check? This fake person?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And it's a fake bank account routing?
Yeah. No, it was a real bank account that we opened a real bank.
Under the fake person?
Yeah.
Under the fictitious, you created this fictitious person.
Yeah.
Opened up a fictitious bank account.
Yeah.
And back then they didn't, and you had a fictitious ID?
Uh-huh.
Where'd you get the ID?
Well, we went to the library, found a child that had died in our, I probably don't, am I supposed to be telling this? I don't think you can get away with it.
No, you
cannot. So then we went to the courthouse, got a birth certificate.
Yeah.
For just a copy. They didn't even ask for ID. They gave us a copy of the birth certificate. You get the birth certificate, you can go get the ID, right? You get the ID and the birth certificate, you go to the bank and you open a bank account, right?
You put a little bit of money in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So now you have fake person, fake bank account. Like, it's a real bank account.
Yeah.
It's a real birth certificate. The person's just dead.
Right.
They just don't have all the checks and balances like they do today to do that. Yeah. So you have this check. Now what?
So we picked a Memorial Day weekend because it was a 3-day weekend, and Telecheck has no way of verifying how many funds are in your bank account.
Okay.
Right? They just know if the bank account has ever bounced any checks. Right? That's all. That was their criteria. Has he ever bounced a check? Nope. Approve it. So they would guarantee the check for the company.
So what were you doing though with the check? You're writing it?
Writing a check for stuff like jewelry stores.
Oh, yeah. I get it. So you were buying stuff with checks.
Buying stuff with checks.
I thought you were just depositing.
No. Some of the stores would let you write a check for cash if you went to the customer service center, and they let you write a check for $200 and they'd give you cash. So we did that.
Did you do that?
Yeah.
So in 3 days, how many checks did you guys wrote?
Oh my gosh, I don't even know. Somewhere around $90,000.
$90,000
for me, and the guy that was with, he was a little less.
And this was
probably about
the same fictitious person.
Yeah,
you guys are both.
Yeah. So between the two of us,
have you heard of someone else who did this crime? Like,
when we were in jail, we told quite a few people about it, and so I imagine it perpetrated.
That's entrepreneur, I guess.
Yeah, I guess all for all the wrong direction though, right? Right. So anyway, I got 10 years probation, 10 years suspended prison sentence, 60 days in jail, make restitution, report monthly, make restitution payments. So this is all during my drinking.
Late 20s, early 30s.
Late 20s. Yeah. So, yeah, it actually would have expired.
That was jail.
It's not an experience. So did. Yeah. Well, I mean,
did it make you not ever want to do that again?
No.
So it didn't convince you enough to, because some people go to jail like, I never want to be in jail again.
Right.
Were you like,
no big deal. Yeah.
So
right.
Did you commit any other crimes after that?
Well, nothing like that. No felonies. Nothing. I mean, I had some disturbing the peace. Yeah, I think disturbing the peace was the worst thing I had after that. So, but
how long did you go to jail for?
60 days.
60 days. That's it.
That's it. Yeah, and they give you good time. So I actually only did 40 days.
And the guy with you, how much did he get? Same.
Yeah.
Were you in the same cell together?
We were initially, but then I got out. I got released on recognizance for a letter that my dad sent, and the letter.
Yeah. How did this affect your parents?
Oh yeah.
Did you get lawyers involved in all that, or did you admit to it?
I admitted to it. Yeah. After they had us.
So you wrote all the checks.
Yeah.
Got all the stuff.
Yeah.
Then what?
Well, then we got arrested in the Fred Meyer Lake City, or Linwood Fred Meyer. That's
that same weekend?
No, maybe a couple months later.
So I'm sure there's cameras or something.
Yeah, they did have cameras, not sophisticated as they had now.
But didn't you know didn't you think they would try to investigate this?
After a couple months, we figured, okay, well, we must have got away with it.
Why didn't you go to a different city?
I don't know. Stupid. All right. Well, after, nobody came looking for us. Nobody, and it's just, you're like, wow. So,
but you only did it once.
Right, just the one, and we were laying low, and then we had another ID up, ready to, started the whole process again, right? And we were gonna, I think the next day was gonna be Labor Day, but we never got that.
So they tell you, please tell you how they found you.
The store detective and the Fred Meyer recognized my companion in crime.
Because he went to the store?
Went to the store and he was writing another check.
Like a good check?
Yeah, this was a good check. Yeah, so.
And he's like...
Yeah, and she called the police and they came in and they got him.
Never go back to the place where you committed the crime.
Yeah.
That's like, I'm not even a criminal. I know.
You know that.
I guess they didn't have CSI back then. They didn't have all those...
No.
All this... Let's start... Let's actually take a little sidetrack. Do you remember TV shows back then and movies, or was it? You were too busy being a criminal.
I wasn't that long of a criminal career. We're talking only about space of about 3 months here, right? And so it wasn't that long of a career, and it was not profitable. So
put that on the gram. Hey, that's not worth the criminal.
It's not worth it. No.
Did it? Was it?
Because there was never any time when we were at ease either.
Yeah.
After that,
even if you get
always looking over your shoulder and you driving under the speed limit because you don't want to get pulled over.
Yeah.
Because they might be looking for you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did your buddy rat you out after he got caught?
No, we were both caught at the same time.
Oh,
I was in the store. I was at a different part of the store, but the store detective knew both of us. So, yeah. And I thought I tried to just walk by because next time I look over, he's over on the counter and the cop's behind him. I'm like, okay, and I'm trying to walk by and nope. She I remember she's pointing at me with an officer right by her shoulder. And I'm like, yeah.
Okay, so lessons I learned from that. If you're going to do a crime, go to an area you haven't been to.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind. And it's not ever going to happen again.
I'm just saying, for the listeners.
Yeah.
Once the crime is committed,
move out of state.
Don't go back to where you committed the crime.
Yeah. Yeah, just don't do the crime.
Yeah.
Right.
Rule 1, don't become a criminal.
Chances are, and these days, they will catch you quicker.
Yeah,
right?
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah, there's cameras everywhere, right?
What initially got me into listening to long-form podcasts was there's a guy named Patrick Bet-David.
Okay.
And he used to do random interviews with people. Like, they weren't that random, but just he would interview different people. So one of his first interviews that I listened to was a guy that was a criminal in real estate.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know which decade it was, if it was 80s or 90s, but again, not as sophisticated as today as far as like, they're going to pick up fraud a lot quicker today than they would back then.
Mm-hmm.
So this dude created fake IDs, went and bought houses, was able to like do all this crazy stuff, and he got away with it for years and years.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was like, they're interesting stories. You're like, huh. But yeah, it's much harder to get away with that stuff. But listening to that.
So he got away with it for years.
And the way
And now how much time is he doing?
I would have to listen to it again, but.
Right.
It's funny because he got caught because of like a side girlfriend, ex-girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
Someone, like he was actually pretty good at it.
Yeah.
And burning all these people. And the dude made millions off of it, actually.
Yeah.
But like you said, at the end, you're always concerned. You're always looking back.
Yeah.
Eventually, the crime will catch up to you. It's a very interesting story. But yeah, he got burned by the dumbest thing, like, and think the girl that he was associated with got caught.
Yeah.
And
we did not pick any individuals. We were strictly companies.
Yeah, target corporations, target companies,
and telecheck. Yeah,
you had morals. You're a criminal.
Right. Yeah.
I like a criminal with morals.
Yeah. Well,
at least you have a boundary if you won't cross.
Yeah. Yeah. It's still a crime, and it's still it was still dishonest.
Oh,
we deserved what we got.
Yeah.
Right.
That's super fun.
Okay, so the last back forward.
We're not even into your 40s yet.
I know.
What time do you normally go to bed?
Oh, typically I'm down by 10.
Okay,
So
a little.
yeah. So I hadn't report. It was a requirement that I reported monthly and made restitution payments, and
Did you?
I did mostly, and I had a good portion of it paid off, but the last 3 years or so, I just quit reporting.
They didn't care.
Oh yeah, they cared.
Oh
yeah, because if I would miss a monthly report, I would get a probation violation. So, and then the probation officer would send you to the judge, and the judge, and I got, I don't know, several times I had to go back and do 30 more days, but I always got work release because I had a job, right, for a probation violation, for not reporting or not making restitution payments, for getting arrested for disturbing the peace or something like that. I never got any DUIs or anything like that, but, stupid stuff, like wrestling with my friend in his front yard.
And this is even into your early 30s.
Yeah, late 20s, early 30s,
So for people listening, you can turn your life around. It's not even in your late, because sometimes people feel like if you messed up your 20s and into your 30s, you kind of messed up your life. But it sounds like, I mean, we still have to get to the second half of your life. And so we'll listen to what he said if you.
So I got and my dad actually turned me in on that, on the last time. This is 1993, summer of 93, and I went to jail again for probation violation, but this time is looking bad because it's been 3 years more than that I had made. No restitution, no reporting, just kind of disappeared off the face of the earth. Kept my nose clean, didn't get pulled over. So I go before the judge, and I still remember the probation officer. She was there at the hearing. She's like, this guy, and she's a redhead, and the judge kind of kind of holds up his hand to her, like, and he's reading through the paper, and he looks up and he says, he looks at me, he says, "You've been going through this for a long time, haven't you?" I said, "Yes, Your Honor." And he said, "I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you 90 days in jail. But when you're done, this is over." Like, so meaning I didn't have to pay no more restitution, no more. And I thought surely they were going to impose the 10-year sentence, the suspended sentence. And that's pretty sure that's what the probation officer wanted to do. And no more restitution, no more reporting. The case is closed. And I'm like, "Thank you, Your Honor."
So you went back to jail?
Went back to, I was in jail. Yeah. I'd been in
So you went to jail twice.
More than that. Because I told you, every time I got a probation violation, I'd end up getting another 30-day term in jail. But always work release, right? They let you out in the day, and then you got to come back at night. That maybe half a dozen times I had to do that.
Free room and board, I guess.
That's not free room and board when you do work release. No, you got to pay for it.
So you can pay and be in prison?
Yes, you do. Yeah, either that or you don't have to. If you will go up on the regular jail, you don't have to pay for that. No. Yeah, and you get no good time. So like Snohomish County Jail, King County Jail, you get good time. So they'll take off a third of your sentence if you don't get in trouble. So on 90 days, I ended up doing 60 days.
This is an area I hope to never have to.
Let's hope you don't, and let's hope your kids don't either, because it's worse if your kids are going through it. Because
this is just an area I never plan on doing extended research on.
Yeah. So the incident that brought me to the attention was like I was wrestling with my friend, and we were drunk, and we were wrestling. We had a wrestling match, and we were going hard wrestling, right? And the police came, and I gave him my brother's name, and because I didn't want to go to jail, and my dad found out, and he turned me in. So for that, I got a ticket for disturbing the peace, right?
So you mentioned your brother.
Yeah.
What was your relationship with your brother as a young adult when he was early 30s? Did he kind of distance himself from you? Like, hey, man.
He did because he went on a mission for the church, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. He went to college, got a degree.
So he was on the straight and narrow.
He was on the straight and narrow, and
black sheep.
And he applied himself to the corporate world in the beginning, and applied the sales skills and his other quite prolific talents.
He did all right.
He did all right.
We don't have to.
Yeah, we don't have to get in it. He's a different breed. Not a different breed, really. He just wasn't criminally motivated.
Yeah.
Okay, so because
you've been in jail multiple times.
Yeah.
You got the punch card. You've been there 10 times to get a free meal.
Yeah, I don't think I went 10 times, but maybe half a dozen. Maybe. Yeah. So part of the...
What is prison like? I've never been.
It's not... There's prison and there's jail. I was never in prison. Okay. Prison is like...
when I'm not versed.
Penitentiary, jail, county jails, city jails, you will go from 0 days to 364 days.
Okay.
If they give you over 364 days, you got a 1-year sentence, then you go prison, right?
Are these still like how things are today?
Pretty much, yeah.
You're still well versed.
Yeah. So prison is 1 to 5s, and that would be like Monroe Penitentiary. At least
I didn't know all this stuff.
Well, you're in. There's not a lot to talk about. Well, there's actually a lot to talk about. There's always stuff to talk about, because the variety of experience among inmates is huge, and their experiences, right? I mean, if you're ever going to be a novelist, you need to spend some time in jail and learn and hear these guys' stories.
Maybe that will be my next. If I run out of content, I just need to start hitting up the buildings.
You just go to the jail and ask for it.
Because I want to
who's getting out today, and
because I wanted to go to nursing homes, but I was talking to some seniors, and they're saying nursing homes will try to get some of these people to share their life, and none of them want to, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah,
and so that's a problem I need to figure out how to solve. Is like, how do I convince people that it's worth their time and effort to at least share their story?
Yeah, you would think.
A lot of them, the excuses I hear is my life's private. Fair enough.
Yeah.
One guy literally told me I have too many skeletons in my closet.
Yeah.
So my rebuttal to him was like, all right, in 10 years, commit to tell me your life story. So that would be interesting. Like, what kind of skeletons you got? Because he's like, there's people around me that I don't want them to know how bad I was. And it's like, wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Another guy was like, he was an immigrant, and he's like, I've had a pretty interesting life. There's still people back from my home country. I don't want what I have to say to negatively affect them. So that one makes sense.
Right.
But yeah, I'm finding it harder than I thought it would be to get. And I get it. Like, I'm a complete stranger coming up to someone. And so it's like, I'm going to have to get better at selling myself to people. Because it's like, I'm trying to sell someone something to share their life to me.
Yes.
And I get with like, were you the one that saying I was a journalist? But I hadn't thought about it that way. Was it you saying that?
Yeah, what you're doing is kind of a journalist.
Yeah. And so I was like, I don't see it that way, but you're right. Because it's like, I'm not writing it necessarily, because I always thought a journalist was writing.
You don't need to write because you've got it on film.
Yeah. And so, so I definitely got to work on my pitch to convince people that it's worth their time. But I'm meeting more and more interesting people, like yourself, and so I enjoy it. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah,
I met a lady at the gym. I mean, we'll get into the gym in a little bit, but 71-year-old lady. Her name's Nancy, and she had a better physique than me at 71. So I was like, I need to interview this lady. And what's crazy about her was she didn't start lifting until her 60s.
Yeah.
And so I was like, that's inspirational, not just to me, but to women in general. Because most people, if they've never lifted in their life, definitely won't start when they're 60, and definitely won't have the body. Because my natural assumption was like, you lifted your whole life.
Right.
She's like, no, when I retired, my friends I think her daughter got her into it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she was cut. And I was just like, that's why I noticed right away.
Mm-hmm.
And like, normally at the gym, I don't go talk to girls because that's just weird. But
yeah,
she's 71. I didn't know that she was 71.
Yeah.
But I went and talked to her. We had a great conversation. So I definitely want to interview her. So I'm meeting interesting people
mm-hmm.
and getting through. But yeah, I think these stories are important to share because we're still only halfway through yours.
But not even really.
But let's go to how you live a life that most people would say is not productive to society.
Right.
I mean, you were productive because you were doing like there's different layers of like people as far as like some people aren't doing anything to society.
Yeah.
They're just doing absolutely nothing.
Mm-hmm.
You are functioning, whatever you want to call it, alcoholic, addict.
Mm-hmm.
So you had a day job, but your life wasn't necessarily progressing to something higher.
Right.
It was just more like going from one to another with minimal progression.
Yeah.
So let's get to the point where you meet Jesus.
Okay. So, because of the disturbing the peace, I got another 2 days tacked on by a Bothell judge for disturbing the peace. And he kind of had an inclination that there was some substance abuse happening there. So he also said that I had to do a substance abuse program.
Mm-hmm.
So after I got sentenced for the unlawful issuance of bank check probation violation, I got 2 days on that. So it's actually 92 days is what my sentence was.
Did you ever hire a lawyer in any of this?
Not really.
I mean,
I think
it did be trying to do the time type of thing.
Yeah, pretty much. So there's actually in the Snohomish County Jail, and almost any jail, there's a trustee tank. The guys that cook the meals, do the laundry, clean, are all inmates that are trustees.
That's what I thought. The inmates are the ones running the asylum.
Yeah. The guards they're not running the asylum. But
it's just the same.
They're doing all the work, right? So you could apply for that. And it's you get out of your cell, right? And you get to the one I got assigned to was the laundry.
Is it boring?
Is it boring? Sometimes, yeah. Not this time. This is kind of my conversion story, right? At this point, because when they first go in, there's individual cells where you have 2-man cells, and then there's a dormitory. When you first get in there's a dormitory.
Are there toilets in there?
Yeah.
So, but there's no privacy?
No, not really.
You're just
yeah. Just got open showers, yeah. And I think there's a stall in
your actual cell.
Oh, in your cell, yeah. But there's no, it's just attached to the wall, yeah. So
good times,
yeah. So when I was in the dormitory, there was you get to know people. And this one kid, he was kind of a smart mouth kid, and he smart mouthed off to one of the black guys. Well, one day they came in, about 20 of them, and they surrounded him, and not all of them, but they just kind of surrounded, keep everybody away. And one guy just pummeled the crap out of him. I mean, just ruptured his spleen. But he was messed up. Ruptured spleen, broken bones, face, stuff like that.
And this is jail, not
this is jail, yeah.
So don't those guys know, like, if you beat someone up, you're going to go to prison? They just didn't care.
They don't care. Yeah. So anyway,
sidetrack.
Okay.
When you went to jail. Did you gang up? Did you have to form a gang or clique, or you weren't long enough where you had to
No.
I've seen, again, this is from movies. It's like once you get into prison, you kind of have to join a gang to protect yourself from, because that.
Yeah, I think that's a thing in prison. I don't think it's a thing in jail. Obviously the black guys were hanging out together,
right.
In this instant, you kind of, I never had any problems. I'm not a antagonistic person. I usually get along with everybody.
Yeah, you're a criminal with morals.
Exactly. Right. But I make friends easily, and I grew up in Colombia where people didn't like me because I was an American, right? And I learned to deal with that. I learned to
You should say I know English.
Yeah. So anyway, they beat him and they brought everybody out of the dorm one by one to interview him to find out what happened. And nobody would say anything, but I was pissed. So they get.
Why were you pissed?
Well, because they beat him up, right?
I don't care about this guy
because I actually liked the guy. He was kind of he's a loudmouth, but he was kind of funny to have around, and I.
So you snitched.
I did.
You get stitches.
That's what they say, right? So they had all the black guys' pictures on the desk, and they said, "What happened?" And I said, "Well, they came in. They came in to beat him up." So he said, "Who was it?" And I said, "I looked, and that guy right there." And I came back in, and my bunkmate, because the dormitory, they're all bunks across. He said, "What'd you do?" I said, "I told him who did it." "You did what?"
Yeah.
And he'd been in prison, right? And he's like, "Snitches get stitches." I'm like, "I don't care. Let them come at me. I don't, come on."
Were you always been a big dude? Like,
yeah, pretty much. Well, yeah. I was been skinnier than I was. I'm about 260.
When I say big, you're also skinny.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I started lifting weights when I was 12.
Yeah. There's a term that we'll say that I'll call it farmer strength. Some guys, like I work out.
Yeah.
But there's people that so my brother-in-law, if he ever watches this, he's stronger than me and he never works out.
Yeah.
Because he has farmer strength.
Yep.
And it's like I joke with my wife, she'll want me to lift something. I'm like, I'm not that strong.
Yeah.
But him, he does
all those natural gifts.
He does tiling, so he's doing manual labor.
Yeah.
But maybe if we worked out, I could maybe beat him in a few different things.
Mm-hmm.
But just overall raw strength.
Yeah.
He's going to beat me.
Yeah.
He doesn't work out ever. He just does. So you have what I consider that farmer strength.
Yes. Yeah. That's a natural gift.
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah. Yeah.
Because if I didn't work out, I'd be a toothpick.
Yeah. So when I first went into the jail, I figured that I knew the gig was up, and I'm facing not 10 years in jail, 10 years in prison, because I knew that probation officer. I knew that's what she was going to go for.
Oh, you think she would have gotten you to go to jail for 10 years?
Prison, because I had a 10-year suspended prison sentence at the beginning of that thing. So I was nervous, and I knew I didn't want to do it. I knew I could probably survive it, but I didn't want to.
Who really wants
to do 10 years in prison, right?
You'd be a different man.
Yeah. And so
you wouldn't have the life you had.
On the way in that night, there was a book.
Was this late 20s, early 30s?
This is the last time I was in jail.
So early 30s?
1993, early 30s. I was 31 at the time.
Okay.
So I picked up, there's a book cart there, and I said, and the female guard was escorting me into the tank, or the cell block. And I said, "Can I grab a book?" She says, "Quick, make it quick." It was late at night. And I grabbed, one book, and there was a Bible there. And I picked up the Bible. I said, "Okay, before I do something stupid, I'm going to read this, right? I'm going to read the Bible. I'm going to start in Genesis, right? I'm not much of a coward, and I'll hang myself from a sheet or something, or find something. I'm not going to prison, right? You're not thinking. Yeah. But before I do that, I'm going to read the Bible."
Have you ever read the Bible before that?
I had read portions of it, and I had a religious upbringing, until I was 18. I was a good kid. I went what they call seminary. Didn't graduate from it, but I'd read portions of it. But this time I started to read. So my bunkmate was a good Christian. He'd been in prison, but he was also Christian, right?
So why was he?
He was in for driving infraction. He'd been driving. He'd gotten a suspended license.
So
it wasn't.
He'd been in jail before.
He'd been in jail. He'd been in prison before.
So they're probably harsh on him
because he had a previous record. And he was like he'd been in the Army. He was a Ranger. He's the one that said, "You did what?" they're going to shake you. I'm like, nah, they're not going to shake me. These guys don't. He said, he said, we need to go say a prayer now. I'm like, oh, okay. Because, he'd seen me reading the Bible. We started discussing it. And so we went down at the end of the cell block and kind of knelt down. He, typically my church doesn't hold hands or thing, but he said, he put his hands on it. He said, put your hands here. And he said a prayer, and I just got what they call the baptism of fire, right? And it never happened to me before. It was just kind of like from the crown of my head to all the way through my body was this kind of a, not burning, hurting, but a enlightening fire, right? Like Doug called it the baptism of fire and the Holy Ghost.
So does the Mormon church believe in that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. So the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints said Mormon is what other...
so you don't like that term?
Well, I don't mind it. I mean, we do have the Book of Mormon. That's where it comes from. But other Christian sects use that to try to say that we're not Christian.
Okay.
Because we don't believe in the Nicene Creed, which is the Trinity. Because Joseph Smith in 1820, April 6th, 1820, went to pray, and God the Father and his Son Jesus Christ appeared to him side by side. So we know them to be separate individuals, Father and Son. So because we say that, they say we're not Christian, but it's called the Church of Jesus Christ.
Okay.
So,
all right. So he prays for you, through you, to you.
Yeah.
You experience some type of
spiritual experience, right? Right. And that's what changed me. That instant there, that prayer. And I never had that kind of a spiritual experience before. So,
that's interesting. How we already discussed, rule one is prevention from the beginning. So we can look back at your life and say that first drink you had led you to 31.
Yeah.
And not that those years were a waste, but there was a lot of potential that didn't come to fruition because of all that.
Right.
So goal one would be, let's prevent someone from having that first sip so that it doesn't end up 31. But through your experience, or I'm sure you've seen other people's life, if someone's in the middle of all that, without having that supernatural experience, how can you get them out of it in their 20s?
I think,
so the reason why I ask is, hopefully that doesn't happen to any of my kids. I pray that every day, but just people, I interact with, if they're in the middle of hell, in the middle of that experience, what gets them out of it? Could have someone prayed to you in your mid-20s and you had that experience possibly?
No. So, that was the start of it, right? So going into the trustee tank, you could choose, there was a substance abuse program. You had to take classes, right, with a counselor. One of them was a substance abuse class. And that would have met my requirements from the Bothell judge. I would have got out from jail scot-free because I'd completed the substance abuse program. You fill out an application and they questionnaire, and they recommended I go to anger management. I said, I don't need anger management. I need the substance abuse. So I went, guess where I went? I went to anger management. Yeah. All right. So the counselor there, she was wonderful. All this, talk about enlightenment, right? Philosophy, we all are seeking enlightenment and education. We need to change. We need enlightenment, right? And all these things that she was teaching through anger management just hit home, right? And it solidified that spiritual experience that I was having, and I never knew what it was. I knew I was getting changed, but these ideas and this philosophy that she was, teaching us.
And this philosophy she was teaching you, were they Christian or just
just life things. There was, very little, because it's a secular, it's a government jail thing. There wasn't a lot of that. I was, there was church in the jail that I was going to, but I never figured out where she got that stuff until about 20 years later. I'm in an AA meeting and she comes in the door. Like, you were changing me with AA and I never knew it. Yeah. So, and that's part of the thing.
How long were you in prison?
I did 62 days.
For 62 days.
Yep.
And then obviously I guess you could have gotten released to work during the day.
Nope.
So that time you weren't released.
I didn't want to get released. I've been through work release numerous times. I had a job, I just let it go.
Okay, so you chose to stay because you knew something was happening.
Well, and not only that, I knew because if I stayed in there, I would only do 60 days, not 90.
Okay. So does that help you also break whatever you're on?
Yeah, it dried me out. Got me off the substances and stuff. So
the way I've heard it explained to me, or read in a book, when you're on drugs, the desire for it never actually goes away.
Nope.
So you have to replace it with something else, whether it's physical, spiritual, mental, but that desire for it actually doesn't go away.
Right.
Is that the same with alcohol? Is that a different?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, alcohol is probably the most prevalent and noxiously addictive chemical that we have as humans. The DT people that are having the alcoholism, the DTs, delirium tremens, kills. People try to dry out at home, it kills. That's why they've had detox centers have sprouted. Almost every county has a detox center because they know people coming down off of alcohol will die. One of my painters just had his nephew was coming off of fentanyl, decided to detox at home from fentanyl, made it 3 days.
So the detox. So when you go to a detox center, how do they make sure you stay alive? And they monitor?
They have medical personnel there. They monitor you. They do your blood pressure 3 times a day. They monitor you. They start feeding you, and they give you pretty much over-the-counter drugs, antihistamines, tranquilizers, and stuff to come down off of what.
Yeah. So I've heard that is when you're on a really hard substance, whether it's legal or illegal.
Yeah.
You generally don't go cold turkey.
Yeah.
You generally have to take less crack and then less crack and then less. But
except they don't give you.
And in detox, they're trying to give you something not as strong so your body can slowly
sober up. Yeah.
Yeah. So 60 days, you get out, your life seems to be turning around.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have a desire for that stuff, or you knew just to stay away from?
I knew to stay away from it, and I started going back to church. Got what they call active in church.
So you replaced it with something.
Yeah.
Did you change? Because also a lot of times what I hear is, if you want to break free from that substance, you have to change your environment.
Mm-hmm.
You have to change. Sometimes they tell you move to a different total location.
Yeah.
But it sounded like because you had that supernatural experience, that changed you enough where you didn't necessarily. I don't think you moved. I know clearly. So because a lot of times if you drive by a place where you used to get your stuff, then it's really easy to accidentally fall back. But I think if you've had that experience where it's it marks you enough where you're I don't want to go down that path again, but I need to make sure I replace it with something better or different.
Yeah.
So that church became your new drug.
Yeah. Yep.
And then is that where you found your wife?
Yep. We met in 94, Valentine's Day in 94, which is basically about 6 months after I'd gotten it.
Did you tell her your past?
Yep.
That scare her?
No. She'd also kind of not gone to church for years as well. She'd gotten inactive, and she'd had a son, who was our oldest son now.
The one in the military?
No, the one that our granddaughter was born to. Yeah, he was 3 when I met her.
Here's a side question.
Okay.
You had 2 daughters. Would you want them to marry someone like your old self?
No.
That you would say, hey,
not even a guy like yourself, man.
You bring a guy home like that. Are they married now?
My youngest daughter's married, and my oldest daughter has a live-in boyfriend. And
hopefully those guys are.
Yeah, I'm
like.
Yeah, nothing. My oldest son, our oldest son-in-law, I guess, because they've been living together for 3 years now or so. But yeah, he smokes and he drinks, but I don't think it's a problem for him.
Marijuana or cigarettes?
Cigarettes and marijuana, and because it's legal now, right? And he drinks, but I've never seen him go to excess. I mean, I'm sure that but it doesn't seem to be a problem. He doesn't have the disease of addiction.
Right? Yeah, some people have a higher tendency of addiction.
There's about 10% of the people.
Maybe not have the answer. Does your daughter then smoke?
I don't think she smokes. I think she occasionally drinks, but I don't think it's a problem for her. No.
But yeah, we won't get to it. We won't delve into that. Meet your wife, get involved with church, and then what?
We got married in 95. Actually,
30s beyond.
So I'm out of jail in the last day of August of 93. Sometime in September, I'd started back in church. I started my paint company. I started a painting company because that's where I'd had the most success I went to work for a painter, had his own company. We were painting apartments in Bothell. It wasn't very long before I was the supervisor of the painting crew. We had like 26 buildings we were painting on. And after that scaled down, he asked me to be the manager of his company. And then he took me out. We should probably still get him these Valpak coupon books that come in the mail.
Yeah.
Blue envelope. Okay, he was the first one to do a painting coupon. It was $300 off an exterior and $150 off of an interior. And he started getting, the first week, he probably got like 3 or 4 calls. And so he took me out and had a store-bought bidding form and told me, this is how you bid the.
So let's get into the secrets of how they decide how much to charge. Obviously, there's the actual material that they pay.
Yeah, and the labor.
So how do they determine?
And the prep.
How do you just think about how many hours, and then you're like, do you have an hourly rate in your mind?
You kind of got to look at you see what your surface prep is. You're going to pressure wash it. You're going to have to scrape and prime and fill.
Exactly how much time is it?
Not exactly, but looking at the house.
Yeah.
And these were exteriors mainly that we were doing. You can tell how much work you kind of got to guess at it, right?
If you're like 3 days,
right?
Paint is this much. 1,000.
Yeah. Labor paint was nowhere near 1,000 back then.
Okay, 500.
Yeah.
Labor's 2 days.
Yeah.
So did you just knew because when someone gives them bids now, there's so many different estimates. So they all have their own number in their mind, I feel like, because it's like, so my buddy has a painting business right now, laying the exterior, and I'm like, why do you need to go there? And it's 2023. Do you really need to go there to see it? Because aren't you just going to charge whatever?
Yeah,
you are. Get a video. Because I'm trying to save him time and be like, do you really need to drive there for you to walk around when the dude can just take a video, send it to you, and then Is it really are you gonna charge that much difference?
Yeah, see, but you're missing out on the, you're going out there to look at the job, right?
To close the deal too.
But you're selling yourself and your company.
Yeah.
Right.
I get that. But I'm saying in 2023, feel like if you wanted to speed up your efficiency, figure out how to not unnecessarily have to go out there. Yeah. If you didn't have to.
Yeah, I think you could probably do that.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to sell as much as the guy who goes out and pulls up in a truck that, has the company logo on it and maybe a ladder.
Yeah, but he still does all that. But I was just talking through like it's 2023. I don't.
And you're not going to, you're not going to get the price that you want. You got to build confidence in them. You got homeowners. I mean, people pretty perceptive, whether they have ever bought a paint job before or not, but they can judge people. We judge people all the time.
Yeah.
Right? This guy's competent. This guy's not. This guy's an idiot. This guy's not. This guy's smart. This guy's not. Right? This guy's compassionate. This guy's not.
And you're more or less selling yourself when you go out to that job.
Exactly.
I mean, unless your estimate's just way out of whack.
Yeah.
And they won't consider it.
But if you get a fair price, that's what so that was capitalism. A fair price, a good product, and confident personnel, then you're probably going to sell the job. And then if you deliver, if you start getting a bunch of reviews where you don't deliver what you say you're going to do, and fortunately I've never had that. I had handfuls where jobs where I with paint customers that I had one guy that he had an accident and I knew he was on some sort of narcotic, and
painter, the
homeowner, and he just it was night and day. I could see in his eyes.
Yeah.
And I had a problem with him one time.
Yeah.
But and that,
I mean, one time is not bad.
Yeah. And in that case, I said, look, I already bought the paint. He'd give me a third down. I says, here's the paint.
Yeah.
I'm out of here.
Walk away. So it's better to walk away.
Yeah. So
how long did you do the painting for?
Oh, okay. So my paint company that I started in 93, I went pretty much solid with that until 2000.
Okay. So 7 years.
Then 7 years.
Session.
Yeah. My brother had, I was working hard. I had one point where I had 23 employees in the beginning. We were doing new construction, and I think I made like $750,000 gross. That was the second year. Not went to me. This gross, not net. I still had to pay employees, but I never, made that amount of money. Well, with the guy that trained me to do when we did the Valpak things the first time, I started doing one or two estimates a day, and then it hit big, and I was doing 3 or 4 estimates a day. And about a week or two in, I started getting acceptance on the proposals, and pretty soon we were making like $30,000 a week.
Yeah,
and we had like 9 crews going.
Yeah,
right, and that was net. That wasn't gross. I mean, that was our profit. Right, I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, there's marketing.
Yeah, big money in this, and that's why I started the paint company. But I didn't go, I didn't do the Valpak ad. I did pretty much, we sent out letters to general contractors and asked them if they needed painters, and then we started new construction when I first started the company. So, because winter was coming, and the homeowner individual that drops off precipitously.
Yeah, that's what my buddy's saying. Yeah. It's summertime, exterior, and a lot of them will try to do interior, but the business dries up a lot.
It dries up a lot, but new construction doesn't, and didn't, and it probably still doesn't. So, but that's what kept us busy. But year after that.
So another side question.
Okay.
Has painting been the same for the past 40, 50 years?
Yep.
How they do it? Has
pretty
it really changed at all?
Yeah.
Only thing that's changed is how much paint costs. Has the quality of the paint changed?
Quality of the paint has increased, has gotten better. In the beginning, it was all oils and stuff, oil-based stuff, but the EPA has been phasing those out by the allowable VOCs, volatile organic compounds. So most of the paint companies have switched to acrylics and water-based paints and stuff.
But as far as painting is just how they painted years ago, or when you first started.
Yeah, or probably all the way back to when the Egyptians painted the pyramids, you know.
Still the same.
Only we don't have to make our own brushes.
Yeah, so that's
Yeah.
the thing about trades is someone still has to do the manual labor.
Yes.
One thing I think about, this is a slight side tangent, is I've been listening a lot about AI, and not out of fear, but out of like, this is the next wave.
Yeah.
Just like when cars started coming, what was the industry before cars? Horses, right? So out of the horse industry, that was a big industry, right? You had to have people who cleaned up the poop. You had to have people that everything was about the horses, right? So when cars started, all the people that took care of horses, they could either live in fear and be like, who's going to take my job? You know what they used to do? They would deliberately put potholes in the roads to make it harder for the cars.
Really?
So people in the horse industry were...
Those guys still around?
Huh?
The pothole guys?
Right. So like, it's like, this happens every time there's a big industry change. The people that are in the old industry, you know, don't want the change to happen.
Yeah.
It's like the change is going to happen whether you want it or not. You can either hate it or figure out how to get on that train. And so I'm sure a lot of those horse people, if you're older, they didn't live very long back then. So it wasn't like the average, I think they're saying the average person back then only lived till 40 or whatever. But then, yeah, it just created a whole new industry of, now we have cars. And so now I look at it and it's like with AI, it's like the people who are safe for a long, long time are the tradesmen. And so one of the point of this video is there's so many young people right now, they did the whole college thing, woke up, realized it was a nightmare, got a piece of paper, was a nightmare, all this debt, nowhere to go. So now we need to convince men and women, even though it's predominantly men, go do a trade, because that's not going to be replaced by AI anytime soon, right? Someone's still got to go do it.
Yep.
Right? What's funny is people always thought it was low-skilled jobs that were going to go out of and I wouldn't even consider trades low-skilled. That's low-skilled is something that requires minimal manual labor and minimal mental labor. But like you go to Walmart, it's self-checkout, right?
Yeah.
But so people like the people that had white-collar jobs were like, oh, we're good. Well, guess what? All these guys are getting programming and coding. They're going to, now AI can do all that. So those are the people that are like the lawyers, all these people that thought their jobs are safe, these service job industries, that can all be replaced by AI.
Yep.
So I use that on a regular, I use ChatGPT. And it's like, what they're saying now is, it's not that AI and ChatGPT is going to replace humans. It's the humans that use it to augment their work life and personal life are going to go far ahead of the people that don't.
Right.
So you're going to have the people that go kicking and screaming. But then it's like, hey, if you just go do a trade, trust me, you don't have to worry about that for a long time. Because I don't know how you get a robot to go do what you do as far as like building a house or to handyman stuff. So I'm still going to be telling people, go do trade, because I don't know how you're going to get they can't get a robot to do the little, like it can crush you, but to do sensitive light touch is extremely difficult.
Yeah, not yet. It might take a century or two.
Right. But
we'll be gone by then.
But as far as the next 5-10 years, all these people with jobs that thought, oh, I'm high mental work, and it's like, ChatGPT is 100 times smarter than you as far as what it can, because it not.
Yeah, and it doesn't get tired. Doesn't take a break.
Doesn't complain. Doesn't get sick. And then it can retain information, right? As a human being, you can give me information, I'll retain 2% of it and forget 98. Where you give it an AI information, not only will it retain 100%, but it can recall it. So now it's the best salesperson.
Yep.
Now it's the smartest. You can give it 1,000 books, he'll remember. So Jordan Peterson, he wrote you know who Jordan Peterson?
Yes.
He wrote a book, 12 Steps to Life. I forget the exact title. Something about 12. The book, ChatGPT has the book. He asked it to write the 13th chapter in the form that he would write it in. And it did. He read it and he said it wrote it better than I did.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, once I like, because are you familiar with ChatGPT?
Yes.
Once it launched in November of last year, so it's already been a year. I jumped into it in like January because like, I gotta make this part of life. But yeah, it's scary stuff. But it's like, hey, tradesmen, people, keep doing what you're doing because I don't think they're replacing that anytime soon.
Right.
All right, painting till 2000.
My brother convinced me that it's hard. I was doing a lot of so I cut down to like four painters and myself, just doing most of the work the year after I did like 3/4 of a mil. And I actually made more money just in my pocket.
Yeah.
With four.
More work doesn't mean more money for you. That just means more overhead because you don't pay all.
Exactly. Yeah. And pay and laying up, tomorrow's payday. 23 guys who want to get paid the next, there were women too. I had women painters.
Yeah. Probably not a lot though.
Not a lot, like maybe 1 in 10.
Yeah.
Was 10%, but yeah.
Most.
So I was doing all the spraying, and I liked the 2-finger guns, right? And it got to the point where I couldn't feel, because I'd send the painters out, do the prep and the masking, and I'd just come and spray. Sometimes I'd spray a couple houses a day because I just have them ready to go, and that's all I did was spray out the house. And then, you guys take the masking off and do the trim tomorrow. And, or banging houses out, but I couldn't feel my fingers on both hands. I could see, but I could not feel. It just,
your hands are, bare hands. They're my little dainty.
Right. So my brother, suggested I, try network engineering. Microsoft certified systems engineer.
That's a switch.
Yeah. Well, he offered to pay for the classes, and I did. I took them.
And he made it.
He was on the path. He was on the path. Oh, definitely on the. Well, when you look back, he was on the path from day one. Right? Yeah. But this is the .com era, right? At the end of it, nobody knew it was the end, though. But
no one knows it.
So the systems engineers were getting $60,000 a year to start, plus sign-on bonuses, stock options, all sorts of spits.
You think he was trying to get you to come work for him?
I don't think that he was in a position for me to come work for him. He may have had something in mind, but back a systems engineer at the end of the .com era, they were just high demand, right?
Yeah.
You could get a job anywhere. All you had to do was say, I got my MCSE certification, my A+ certification. Here they are. You were hired, right? Mm-hmm. Well, I didn't get my last certification. By the time I got my last test completed, the .com bubble had started to pop. All right. So I sent out 100 applications. I got one. I did the class at CompUSA. Remember them? Mm-hmm. They also offered classes. They offered me a position selling or working in their upgrade department for like $11 an hour. So I got this massive amount that my brother spent on getting me through this course and the exams and the tests and all this study time, and I got a job for $11 an hour. So I said, okay, can I just work part-time, right? Because I didn't want to waste it. So I just started working nights, and then I went back to my painting business. And the one of the guys at the CompUSA was an apartment manager. His wife was a managed apartment. He says, can you come paint an apartment for us? I said, yeah, sure. He introduced me to the property manager. Her name is Amelia. And so I started painting during the day for the property manager. What was she? Phillips. She was working for Phillips at that time. And she had a lot of properties, probably like you did when I first met you. You're probably back up there. What do you got, 100 properties now?
Close.
I hear you're getting a couple of new ones in January from Winoff.
Yeah.
Cool.
That'll be interesting.
All right. We'll talk about that later. But so I she started, giving me more and more work because, we did a pretty good job for her. And then I did one in Lake City or just above Lake City, and the window was leaking. and I had one wall that I didn't paint the wall. I painted all the rest of the apartment. Like she said, I'll get my guy out there to take a look at the window and find out why it's leaking. You know, 1 week goes by, 2, and I'm like, when's he gonna come? I need to finish, you know, so I can invoice on the paint job, right? About the second week, no, I said, look, can I just? I mean, he's gonna have to cut the sheetrock out, right, to find out why it's leaking. Can I just do that and see what's leaking? And, you know, she said, sure. So I went and cut it open. I found out where the window was leaking. It was, they'd put the window, double pane vinyl windows over the aluminum frame. They just took out the glass and put you know, and that's what was sweating.
Yeah.
And that's what was dripping. So I said, well, this is your problem. I'll fix it for this much, which involved pulling the windows out, setting them aside, removing the aluminum framing it in, and putting it back, you know, sheetrocking it back up. And I said, you know, and while you mind, there's a drip in the skylight up there. Can I fix that too? And the toilet's running. Can I fix that as well? And she's like, sure. And so at the end of that, she said, okay, so should I list you as a painter or a handyman? I'm like, well, can I do both? She says, no. I go, okay, well then put me down, list me on your vendor list as a handyman then. And because I figured, you know, handymans do painting too, right?
Yeah.
So that's how that started.
Is that when you started CSK then?
No, I was still ACP, but it went from ACP painting to ACP construction. Those
So those other jobs that you worked on for her, did you just have experience in doing that kind of stuff from all the other? It sounded like in your 20s you did a whole different.
Yeah, they used to have the classified ads that came out for jobs, and I kind of took pride in every letter. I'd had experience in a company that I could find a job in any of those, you know, A through Z. I could find, you know, from sales to plumbing to painting to sheet metal to, you know.
What's your least favorite profession that you had?
You know, because I did so much of it, I really don't like painting. I will do it.
Burnt out.
I'm burnt out from painting.
So when I give you my paint jobs, you're like,
no, I'm fine with that because I've got some painters.
let's say someone else.
Yeah, my roommate that when I broke my leg, he was the guy that was helping him out. He had a company called Spring Painting, and that's where
the one that's painted some of my places.
Some of them, yeah.
I thought he moved to Texas.
No, that's a different guy. That was my tile guy that moved to Texas. But he now works for me. So, and he has for years, ever since I started managing.
He's been a painter?
He's always been a painter, yeah. Yeah, he's a drummer, and he paints. So those are the things, and he's happy doing those things. So, you know, and I got another guy that, you know, worked for me when I had the paint company, and he still does painting for me too. So I'd rather just, you know, have them do that, and I'll manage it. You know, I know how to estimate it, and I know what is needed. You know, I'll get them with the stuff, and they'll just do it. But so as a general contractor, I've learned to sub stuff out. Right, yeah. Tile. I mean, I have done tile, and I do a pretty good job at it. But there's other guys that are better at it. And then I just mark it up 15% or 10%.
Yeah.
And, you know, because I'm going to have to, you know, manage it, and I'm going to have to get the materials there.
Yeah, and if there's no stuff like that. Issue.
Exactly. So.
Yeah, there's no shame in that. Yeah, that's an interesting story. So to kind of cap through your work career, when you were young, because I want someone who's listening to this to be like, you know what? I like the tradesman. I like the handiwork. And your teens, did you have a desire for solving problems, working with your hands? Was that a thing? Or,
you know, I don't know that
I'm trying to help people who can listen to the story to be like, help them pinpoint this stuff at a young age so that they know, like, yeah, I don't need to go to college.
Right.
I would rather just, like, what do you think? Because you've also dealt with a lot of people.
Yeah.
So what do you think is like, we tell so many kids go to college, and it's like, well, for some people that is good.
Yeah.
But I think there's not a majority, but there's a vast amount of people out there that they shouldn't do that from the beginning.
Right.
So what would you say are some characteristics of someone that could go into just straight into the journeyman, straight into working with your hands, straight into trades.
Well, when you start doing things, you know you're going to have a certain aptitude for it. You know, if you start working on a car and you feel you're pretty good at it, you're not struggling. I mean, there's sometimes the elements will combine against you, and that still happens to me these days. When nothing goes right. It's like there's some sort of intelligence that, I mean, my dad used to say, it's an inanimate object. It can't think. Well, bull, no, it can. Look what it's doing, right?
Yeah.
You know, but if that's happening to you all the time, working with your hands is probably not your forte, right?
Yeah.
But if things go smooth and you can make it, and then you can put out a good product, and you look back and say, hey, look, I painted that, or I fixed that car, or
Do you enjoy solving problems?
Yes,
because I think that's a big part of it.
Yeah, I think the turning point was when I was young. My dad said, most things you can figure out by just by looking at them.
Yeah, I don't know if that applies to everyone.
I don't think it applies to everyone.
Yes, certain people.
You know, look and see how things work. I mean, even who was it? Was it Edison was taking apart stuff just to see how it worked, right?
Yeah, for a person that's into that kind of stuff, then you'll naturally know.
If that's one of your gifts.
You know who Johnny Ive is?
Sounds familiar.
Oh, yeah, you'd be like, oh. So Johnny Ives was the guy that was the right-hand man to Steve Jobs.
Okay.
Johnny Ives was his lead designer.
Okay.
I don't know if I listened to his whole biography, but I listened to a lot of it, where from a young age, he was looking like how many 8-year-olds are looking at lampposts to figure out how it's designed, right? How many young kids are looking at, he was always just looking at stuff and looking at the design of them.
Yeah.
Well, then now he created a lot of those Apple products.
Yeah.
But he knew from a young age, hey, my kid isn't looking at a lamppost to figure out how it was designed. So it's like, I don't know if you want to be a designer. But so that people, if someone listens to this and they're 16 to 25 or even older, it's like they're go to college, and it's just like, well, hold on. Do you think people that get into trades enjoy it initially, or do you have to have some aptitude for me? Because it's manual labor.
Yeah,
it's not easy, right? Especially if you're doing so you're in the elements. If you're doing outside work, that's why some people prefer, like electrician or plumbing can be both. Outside and inside.
Yeah.
So it's like that person should probably enjoy just working with your hands or working outside.
Yeah.
Or do some people learn to enjoy it over time because out of necessity, hey, there's nothing else I liked or enjoyed. Let me just try this. Like, well, I guess what kind of avatar people do you see working in the trades or getting into?
Well, I think it runs the spectrum of people that have to do it out of necessity. They maybe they can't afford college. Maybe they don't want to go to college. Maybe they don't like they see college and they say, okay, these are the list of majors, and none of that appeals to them. And then there's people that have an aptitude for it, that are actually enjoy things, that look at the way things work, the way things are built, and they start doing that. Maybe they need the money. They need, they have a summer job. I started summer landscaping, because I needed the money.
Yeah.
Right. And, but
the few times I did manual labor, I hated it. I did landscaping for college. And I think, I tried to block this out of my brain. I think I had to go rake leaves. I was like, this is poor use of my time.
Yeah.
So that, and then both of these were when I was 18, 19, I was staying with my sister and her husband, and they had some kids. And so for the summer job, they were like, this guy owns a construction company, why don't you go work for him? First day, they had me out there pulling out nails from a house they're tearing apart. And I just remember that whole 8 hours, I was like, this is terrible and miserable. I didn't go back the next day. Do you think a lot of people had that experience, but then just pushed through out of necessity? Or, would you say, hey, it's okay if it sucks the first few times, the first few days, first few weeks, kind of have to push through that?
Yeah. A lot of things are going to be that way.
Yeah.
A lot of things are going to suck. And even if you've been doing them for years, they're still going to suck, you know?
Yeah.
Some days are going to be smooth and some
But I was out there and I was like, this is a waste of my time.
Yeah.
And so I did that for a day. I did landscaping and necessity. I don't even think I cut the grass. I think all I had to do, I don't know what I did outside. This is in upstate New York in the Adirondacks, which is very cold. And I know I did landscaping. I think I just remember thinking, plan. It's miserable. So yeah, for me, I knew right away, like, this is not the life. But I know that for other people that do that, you know, I think it's a good profession to get into, and I want to encourage people to look at that as a viable option. It's not less than college. It's just different than college, because I think there's too many kids that went to college, hated all the classes. Why am I taking these classes? And then, because one of my tenants, it's not my tenant now, but I met him in his early 30s, and he's like, I'm just starting my starting to become an electrician, and I wish I would have started when I was 20.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, it's unfortunate you had to waste 10 years of college working at Fred Meyer.
But he got experience.
But not experiencing needed. That he would free. So let's wrap this up. But very interesting story. Do you look back on your life, especially in the 20s, with any regret, or more just like, man, it could have gone differently, but it is what it is at this point?
It is what it is.
Yeah.
Right. There's no rewind.
Yeah.
There's no do-overs. You know, a lot of things that, you know, I have regrets, but I'm sure lots of people have regrets.
Yeah.
You know, I shoulda, coulda, woulda.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. You know, I think that's one of my favorite sayings. It is what it is. And I have a friend that says, and it also is what it isn't.
Yeah.
You know, I think one of my dad's other favorite sayings, I can use these now that he's dead. So, you know, I can steal his words, right? And we pass through this life exchanging our youth for wisdom, right?
The problem with that, though, is some people don't gain wisdom as they get older.
They don't. Yeah.
And so, in theory, that's how it should work. And I'm sure there's some interviews I'll do where I'll be like, yeah, he didn't gain any wisdom.
Right.
He didn't gain gray hair.
That applies to everything. You know, I have a saying in sobriety. I'm speaking in a sobriety meeting here on the 29th of December.
So, yeah, I was wondering, do you give back because you lived that life for 10 years?
Yeah, I do.
Do you go to prisons?
I still go to. I did
on the outside.
Yeah, there was a while there that I was in on the corrections committee for the Seattle Intergroup, and
they need a lot of corrections.
Mainly what I did was help raise money for books. And when I started, they had this thing called the pink can. And it's just a pink wrapper. It says, please donate money for the books for the corrections. A coffee can. There's almost always an empty coffee can at AA meetings, and then cut a hole in it, and then, you know, leave it. And the people just contribute. You know, put a buck or two in it every time. And when I started that, they had no money for books. And any of the jails, you know, because they have people that take these meetings in the jails, and they like to have books for the inmates to read, you know, a big book, 12 and 12, stuff like that. And especially the Seattle and the Capitol Hill area where I started doing this, and wasn't very long, we had like a $8,000 surplus. So we weren't only doing King County Jail and Monroe. We had to spread out and say, okay, anybody in Western Washington in the area, Western Washington is an area.
Right.
If you need money for books, you know, let us know, and we'll vote on it in our next meeting. And so we were, and it was just, you know, a simple thing like putting out a can, and everybody, you know, contributed. The recovery community is big on helping other people recover.
Yeah, because
right.
I don't know how helpful because I've never experienced that. I don't know. Do you think you need to have first-hand experience to help someone going through that?
You don't have to.
Wait, is that?
But it helps.
Yeah.
And the thing is, an alcoholic or addict isn't going to listen to somebody that doesn't have the experience.
Yeah.
Hasn't been through it with himself. Right?
It's like a soldier when they go to war.
Yeah.
They're more likely to listen to that leader if he's had experience, knowledge in that, versus a soldier that hasn't.
Yeah.
They're going to be like, what do you know about this?
Yeah. It's like the lieutenants that went through, ROTC, and then went to college and then came out as a lieutenant. Who are they going to listen to? The sergeant?
Yeah.
Or the lieutenant?
Yeah.
Don't listen to the sergeant.
Yeah, E5, E6. Well,
because the sergeant's been through it with them.
Respect. Right. And like E1 or B1 or O2.
Yeah.
Well, this was fun. I wouldn't mind doing a part 2.
Oh, yeah. I'm
not today.
Not today. No.
I wouldn't mind doing a part 2 where maybe we talk about, we'll get in more into like philosophical stuff as far as like different topics that maybe we can discuss what would be interesting to talk about.
Yeah.
But last question I have for you is, you're in your 60s now. What do you think about the future as far as 60s, 70s? We talk a little bit off camera about health. What are your thoughts now? I would say, going on a limb here, you're more than halfway through your life, unless you make it 120.
Yes.
Which would be cool.
I don't know
if that's what you want. But what is your thoughts about the future for yourself? And what are you doing? Like, what do you look forward to in your 60s and 70s and maybe in 80s, 90s? Do you have goals, vision, and dreams, or you're kind of just, it is what it is, and you're kind of just living life?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I've accomplished most of the things that I set out to do when I'm younger. The accumulation of material things is not that important to me anymore.
But was at one point?
I think it's important to everybody, because of the security factor. I mean, you got to have sufficient to live, right? There's a saying though in our church, we have sufficient for our needs, right? The saying is, you can buy anything in this world with money, but I have sufficient for my needs, right? So what is you accumulate? You're gonna leave it with you. Like they say, you don't see a U-Haul behind a hearse, right? And that's one of my things. I haven't written this out, but when my hearse goes out, I want a U-Haul behind it, just so people, hey,
yeah.
Well, there ain't gonna be nothing in it.
The Egyptians would bury their people with like,
oh yeah, all sorts of stuff, all their goods.
Take them to.
Yeah, but everybody leaves it all behind. All right. So what is your legacy gonna be? It's gonna be your children. It's going to be your grandchildren if you choose to go that path. And I pity people that don't want to go down that path, because I think that was one of the best things.
Go down what path?
Family and children and grandchildren. Hopefully, we have one granddaughter now.
How old is she?
She is 11 months old now.
So the last thing we'll do,
okay,
is I want you to look at the camera and give her life advice. Or give her
life advice.
Give her some tips. So one day when she looks at it, hopefully you'll still be around when she's older and can understand life. But maybe even your great-grandchild. Because that's one experience that older people have. They don't get to go back. Part of the reason I do this is so that this is an oral biography of your life. So that someday people who've never even met you or seen you will be able to know about you. And so, but you can make it personal by maybe sharing something that, one question I ask people all the time, and maybe you can share with me, what's something you would tell your 35-year-old self that you know now or understand now that you're like, hey, this would have helped you had I had this knowledge at 35?
Yeah, I don't know that, well, because at 33, there's when I started, the path that I took. This is when I started becoming who I am.
Yeah.
And it's still a matter of becoming.
Yeah, you're never
right. It's not, It's not, okay, I've arrived. It's still a matter of becoming. Susan and I used to teach Sunday school class to 11-year-olds, and I used to close each Sunday school class and just a simple thing. Be good so that you can be happy.
Simple but good.
Yeah, just be good, do good. I mean, it's hopefully, my children and grandchildren are still practicing the Christian faith.
Mm-hmm.
But, look for somebody to emulate. Somebody that's good. Be good.
So who did you emulate? Or would you say that's more of the religious, you would emulate Jesus, is it?
Well, yeah.
Or Joseph?
Yeah. Joseph Smith, the founder that, he was a good man, but he had his faults. Right, he was a man. He was human. We do not worship him.
Part 2, we're going to discuss that more.
Yeah, but
we want to open up that can of worms.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Jordan Peterson. Good man. Good philosophy. I think you need some good philosophy. Something that changes like they say, there's 14 inches between life and death, and that's the 14 inches between your brain and your heart.
Mm-hmm.
We hear words all the time. We hear philosophy. We study that. We seek for enlightenment,
mm-hmm.
but it's in our heads, and that's where we sort things out. You process it. But if it's something good that you can hang on to, that is good for you, good for the people around you, good for your life, and provide you, it needs to be down into your heart.
Huh?
So if it just stays up here in your head, it dies.
Yeah.
But here's where it lives if it gets into your heart. Who's the other? Have you heard of Ryan Holiday?
He's not one, though.
Stoic philosophy. Some good books. The Obstacle is the Way is one of his books. So if there's an obstacle in your path, it's probably the path you should take. Things are going to be tough, right? Manual labor is hard. But if you'd have stuck through your nail pulling experience, maybe the next day you'd be sorting boards, right?
Yeah.
I've seen framing crews, because every 2x4 crowns, and they would have a kid out there who would just be making sure all the 2x4s crowned the same way, and then they would frame the wall like that. But sometimes you look at a new construction, and the wall goes like this.
Yeah. Because
one board is crowned one way and one board is crowned the other way. But some crews are have a handle on that, and they're the ones putting out a superior product.
Yeah.
Right. So, and then eventually, if you stay with the carpenters, pretty soon you're laying the boards out and pounding the nails, and then you're standing the walls up, and pretty soon you got a skill.
For sure.
Yeah. But, if you don't stick out the first day, or maybe the first 2 to 3 days pulling the nails, you're not going to get to sorting the boards. And you don't sort the boards, you're not going to get to where you're, nail them together, measuring on them, and, cutting, and then it's going to be a while before they trust you with a saw, because they don't want you to cut your fingers off.
Yeah, it's progress. But yeah, my final thought to you is, I joke with you all the time, is they don't make guys like you anymore. And I don't find 20, 30-year-olds like you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm hoping we can start creating men like that.
Yeah.
Because you are smart. You're not just a knuckle dragger, or you have some intelligence to you.
Yeah.
And so I'm hoping what would be cool is if you can find someone for you to mentor, not just spiritually, but also in your job. Go find a few guys who can be like, hey, let me teach you everything I know. Because I was talking to an older guy who actually owns a business here in Del Creek, and he's realizing he needs to be more proactive in mentoring the next generation. Because he's like, when I was in my 20s, 30s, and 40s, no one was mentoring me, and I made a lot of mistakes. Hopefully I can now do a better job. Not that he has it all figured out, but he's like, I need to go do actual mentoring to these guys in their 20s, 30s, and 40s.
Yeah.
To kind of help them, guide them through life. Like you said, Now in 2023, we have a lot of online gurus. Like I'll probably never meet Jordan Peterson.
Mm-hmm.
I'll probably never one-on-one, but I can learn from a lot of his teachings, right? But I think you're right in saying you have found inspiration from other people, but I'm going to turn around and say, I think you can be an inspiration by also working with people one-on-one, whether it's spiritual, but also physically, like, hey, let me teach you the ropes of starting your own business and this or that. So I'm going to encourage you in seeing if there's probably a young guy out there that's lost and confused, and all he needs is a cliff in his life to help him.
Yeah, it's, I'm happy to help, where I can. I think a lot of the guys that are in the trades, that have been in the trades for a while, they only need one or two little tweaks.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you got somebody that's a master craftsman. Maybe he just needs to know a little bit about how to estimate a job and how to present a proposal. And those are small little things that can change people's life. But I've experienced those small little things from so many numerous people, and they didn't even know what they were doing, but they told me something, or they said something in a different way to me, that it went from my head to my heart.
Yeah.
And it became part of my being.
Yeah.
And that changed me. And they probably didn't even realize they'd done it.
Right.
It was just something they thought.
Yeah, a lot of mentoring happens almost organically.
Yeah.
Because you don't even realize that happened. But I'm going to say, hey, be more intentional about it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people out there that are lost.
Yeah.
And just need a little guidance.
Yeah. Is it Zen that says, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Last comment. I was talking to this girl, she's 21, and her friends are pulling her towards alcohol, partying, just wasting your life. And I'm introducing to her books that's going to level her up. And she asked me this question. I know I want to level up, but where do I meet the people that are going to help me do that? Because her whole base is just people that are down here. Not that they're lower quality people, but they're living here. She knows she wants to get up there, but she's here.
Yeah.
And that was a good question, and you kind of answered it. The opportunity will present itself once you are worthy of whatever that next step is. But if you are continually getting dragged down to those people that just want you to party and drink and whatever, then you're not going to find, because what she's worried about is, I have fun with these people. Some of them are family.
Yeah.
Then one of them is her brother. Right. And so it's like, I don't really want that life, but I don't have the alternative of people that are going after the same thing I'm going.
Yeah.
Maybe they're in their 40s and 50s, but I'm trying to find people in their early 20s that are reaching for something higher.
Yeah. To that person, that girl, I would say, go to an AA meeting. I mean, she's 21. I mean, rarely do you meet somebody that, I'm an alcoholic. But there are open AA meetings. You don't have to be a member of AA. In fact, AA is the only disease in the world that is self-diagnosed. But I've been in AA meetings where I have suspicions about the people that are there.
Meaning they're not?
And I have suspicions that they're alcoholics.
Oh,
right?
Okay.
Yeah. But, the only person that can say you're an alcoholic or an addict is you. But if she would just go, she doesn't have to say anything, but just listen to the people talk in there. Because if they're in about an hour meeting and they go around the room and the people share their experience, strength, and hope. Kind of what we're doing here. Yeah. Experience, strength, and hope. And listen to what they've been through. And then determine if you want to follow that path.
Yeah.
These people have been down that path.
Right. And that's part of the reason I do this is we only have one life to live.
Yeah.
So if I can interview enough different styles and difference of people, then you can be like, oh, maybe I want the plumbing thing. Maybe I want the electrician thing. Maybe I want general contract. Maybe I want this. So my goal is to interview all these different sorts of people so that you only have one life to live. But if you want to gain perspective, then you can listen to other people's life, right? I'm not going to live Cliff's life, but at least I can learn from some of his stories and lessons and then decide if that's the life.
Yeah, you can't lecture. people. Nobody wants to listen to a lecture, you know. I remember when I was younger, used to get the belt or the paddle. You know, my mom had a lint brush that she used to spank with, you know, and I hid that, and she couldn't find it for months. But as I got older, my dad would lecture. I'm like, can we please just go back to the belt?
Yeah. And maybe that's why podcasting has become popular, because it's not lecturing.
Yeah.
It's just two people having a conversation, maybe multiple people.
Yeah.
And they're just having conversation.
Yeah.
Like we're doing now, versus like with my kids, if I lecture to them, they're not going to listen.
Yeah. You start to lecture and then it's like,
but so I'm going to last. I didn't run. So I used to be a runner. I didn't run. And I was trying to get my kids into running. And they're like, this is boring. But as soon as I started running, then they loved it.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, I can't lecture to my kids. And hopefully they watch this someday. And I can learn from it. But thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity.
Part two sometime.
Yeah, I didn't get to spout any of my philosophy that gone from my head to my heart.
Yeah, we'll get into different philosophies and maybe I feel like we did a good job of covering different aspects of your life. And
yeah, we kind of just hit the highs and the lows, but yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I didn't even know most of these things. I didn't know you're criminal with morals.
Yeah. Well, it's not something you that's something that. Yeah.
But
I mean, I don't have any problem telling that, you know, because
no, it's funny. I mean, if you can't laugh about it fast, and it's like you can't. One thing I try to tell my kids is you can't take life too serious.
Yeah.
Right.
If you can't look back and say, man, I was an idiot.
Yeah.
And you probably aren't living life to its full, right? Or, man, that was stupid, right? We used to have a friend, she's passed away now, but she was a life flight nurse on the one that goes to Harborview, the helicopter. Yeah. And she said one of the common things that, you know, one of the last things they say before they need the life flight thing is, here, hold my beer.